It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Andy Anako's here, Jason Snell, and filling in for Christina Warren, the wonderful Glenn Fleischman. We're going to talk about the sticker shock. We're all going through it. What Apple's doing, trying to replace or reduce the cost of your next Apple device. How much will that folding phone cost? Speculation, and 5 new iPhones coming in the next couple of years. What could that be? We'll talk about it next on MacBreak Weekly. This episode is brought to you by Black Hat USA. If you listen to this show, you go deep on the technical detail. Well, so does Black Hat. For nearly 3 decades, it's been where the security industry's most rigorous research gets presented and pressure tested. More than 100 hands-on trainings taught by practitioners who actually deployed in live environments, not lecturers reading from slides, and hundreds of peer-reviewed briefings that go well past the overview into the real work across the 4 areas defining security right now: AI and autonomous threats, cyber conflict, systemic resilience, and identity. This year, Black Hat's Briefings Pass includes all keynotes and main stage access, plus business hall entry. You also get breakfast, lunch, Arsenal live tool demos, on-demand session access, and admission to the Midnight in the War Room screening. Black Hat takes place from August 1st to the 6th in Las Vegas. If you want the depth this show gets into in person with the people doing the work, this is the room, and we'll be there too. Prices rise on July 17th, so book before then. Use the code TWIT for $200 off your Briefings Pass at blackhat.com/US-26. That's BLACKHAT.com/US-26.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWIT.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 1032, recorded Tuesday, July 7th, 2026. I like turtles. It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. I don't know what that is. The show where we talk about all the Apple news with Mr. Andy Inatko from the world-famous Inatko.com. Hello, Andrew.
Hello. Coming at you with my brand new, not $300 paid extra for MacBook G5. M5.
Oh, you lucky dog.
Yes, I can full screen you now. VM1 was like, you know what? What if we were to minimize that window, Andy? That would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah, M1, that's fine. We can minimize that.
Andy arrives at the library singing, "I've got the power." Also with us, Mr. Jason Snell, who is no longer wearing the USA jersey. Did you retire it? Is it?
I mean, there's a reason I wore it last week, Leo. Yeah. I did wear it last night as well. No, I've got my Apple rainbow on today,
Oh, so. Nice. Very nice. Christina, as we mentioned last week, has the week off. She's in Berlin for some sort of Microsoft confab. But that's good news because that empty seat means Glenn Fleischman can sit down instead of just standing the whole time. Hello, Glenn.
Hello there. How are you?
Always a pleasure to see you, my friend. How's the... Is the Kickstarter over? Is the book funded? Are you doing the thing?
I've done 2. I've done so many Kickstarters. I can't even keep track.
Jason said you were his Kickstarter consultant.
Yeah, I was a concierge, I would say, because he and Mike Hurley ran their Design in California campaign like champs, like pros.
Yeah, he did really well.
Glenn was just there to tell us when we did stupid stuff, which was very helpful.
Or like that, not that button.
Not that button.
Weird. There's that weird setting in Kickstarter. No, flick. No, not that one. But yeah, Kickstarter is, you remember V'ger from the original Star Trek movie where it becomes part of this massive cloud of additional function. Kickstarter is like a little probe going through space, and they're like, maybe we should just keep bolting things onto it until it's the size of a planet. So, but it's wonderful and it's a great, so yeah, for a long time no see funded, earlier this year. And then I did that one Matt Bohr's comic. We're doing an entire book about a single panel of a single comic, and it did very well in Kickstarter.
What's the name of that? So you can pre-order for Long Time No See.
Yeah, and the other is
official.
Yeah, that one Matt Bohr's comic, which you go to that one Matt Bohr's comic.com. You can type.
And how do you spell Matt Bohr?
MATTBORS, Matt Bohr's. He did the comic everyone cites, which is "We Should Improve Society Somewhat," and there's a smirking guy in a well who says, curious, yet you participate in society. I am very intelligent. So this became a meme, and we're doing a whole book about kind of the nature of memes and this particular thing, and neoliberalism, and I've got essayists and cartoonists, and we're pulling a lot of mashup art from people have done things where they'll put like AOC in one face and like Bernie Sanders on the other, and it's a lot of fun. So that's also coming out this year.
It is a fascinating subject how just moments in time can become memes, and it's unpredictable. I mean, I see people trying all the time to go viral, and it's just unpredictable, and it's fascinating. And I think this is a great subject for a book.
But artists don't typically make money when their thing becomes a meme, and there are exceptions. Like on the internet, Nobody Knows You're a Dog. Peter Steiner, who's still with us, sold his original a couple years ago for I think $175,000.
Nice.
And his cartoon was licensed and continues to be licensed by Cartoon Bank, which is part of the New Yorker, and he's made well over $100,000, maybe a lot more from it. So he's one of the few people you can say his meme took off because it was from 1993, and he actually made some money.
I was just watching a presentation of Family Guy's 25th anniversary, and they were talking about how lines in the script become memes and how unpredictable it is. It just, why that one, you know? Yep. It's fascinating. But that's
I should mention something. You did mention Christina. She did, remember last week, she promised to trust me with her recap of her thoughts on the Taylor Swift wedding. Whenever we're ready, I've got it in front of me. I've got it standing by for when you think it's an appropriate moment.
I think now would be a good time. I am shamed because I actually posted a picture from the wedding before I learned that it was actually Adam Sandler that officiated. And intentionally, I decided to make Travis Kelce wear his football helmet, knowing that would pretty much anybody who's paying attention say, this is fake. But I am embarrassed. So tell us what was, I think Christina was saying it was kind of tacky to hold it at Madison Square Garden. She was hoping that they wouldn't, but they did.
It's good. And here we go. We must hand it to Page 6 and TMZ, who had details of this wedding down to a T. I'll admit that when details first started to leak, I was sure they were wrong. But as I said last week, as tacky as I still feel like getting married at Madison Square Garden is, I can't deny that it's a good event space. With Paul McCartney and Stevie Nicks performing.
Not bad,
and with the,
Paul
and
McCartney
with the broadcast
played
camera,
I Want to Hold Your Hand for the first time.
In
Years. 60 or something.
And with the broadcast camera and audio setup, one might wonder if a TNT wedding concert might be in the works. Isn't that, to quote Taylor Swift, a little gauche? It is. But we've already had a wedding at Madison Square Garden that sounds just ridiculous. If I can focus on just one area, it's the truly insane guest list. For every blockbuster name, you have a what? How? Like, what do you mean, MGK, Fergie, and Tom Cruise and Chris Rock were all at the same wedding? What do you mean it was officiated by Adam Sandler? What do you mean Carly Kloss was invited, but Blake Lively wasn't? On an Apple angle, Ted Lasso himself, Jason Sudeikis, was there. So was Bob Iger. Tim Cook was not. There are so many open questions about the guest list, the ceremony, why there was a raffle for attendees, and I look forward to unpacking it all with you and our unwitting audience who definitely didn't sign up for this. Love, Christina Warren.
Very nice. I was told after the fact there were many complaints about our coverage of the Taylor Swift wedding. I don't care. Some things are just so important, we can't let them lie. Anyway, on we go with the show. Thank you, Christina. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. Meanwhile, you were proud of your last-minute purchase of an M5 MacBook, Andy, and you are even more glad now. America, according to Atlantic Magazine, is having MacBook sticker shock. And that they say the $10,000 MacBook Pro is here. Good luck getting a $10,000. You could build it, I guess.
Yep.
But I don't know if you'll ever get it. Apple's still kind of, the stock tumbled at first, but it's now recovered fully. In fact, it's gone up considerably. So the real question is this going to cost Apple sales or not?
Yeah, I think Apple announced that their quarterly call is going to be at the end of this month, and maybe in light of that, Merrill Lynch, I think they actually upped their target for Apple. So they're figuring that these price changes are going to at least help the stock. But yeah, it's it's going to be a lively conversation because they're just coming off of a call in which they were able to say, "Oh my God, we have sold so many Neos, we can barely make enough of these. We're having so much success," and now they have to face the fact of here is our guidance. Most of the questions are going to be headwinds, and can you give us some color, Tim, about how you feel the price increases are going to affect sales in the future? Now that analysts have had some time to think about it and make their guesses, they're also basically feeling. There's another report that says that they feel as though that's going to depress laptop sales in general across like all categories, mostly led by declines in MacBook sales.
I don't know. I've got this attitude that like a lot of, there was not pent up demand. There was a massive flow early in the pandemic. And then there was, an ebb because people had bought the machines. The M series is a more robust machine, although Andy is finding the advantage of upgrading already to a newer one. But people don't need to upgrade the M series on as fast a cycle as I would say people often used to. So people are buying a Mac laptop out of need, not out of like, oh, I need to get a new one. So I don't know. I don't think particularly, this is my big problem with everything these days. Let me tell you my big problem with everything these days.
What's your big problem with everything, Glenn?
I need to see everything inflation adjusted. If you're not going to show me an inflation adjusted chart, inflation was, I think it was 28% between 2020 and the current day. And if you don't show me a chart of prices where it says, well, Apple in 2019 was charging $2,000 for this, and now they're charging $2,700. I'm like, well, I need to see the inflation number on that because I mean, not that wages have kept up. That's the other issue, but the stock market has grown enormously. So there is a sense that the actual price of the thing isn't fully tied to the way we feel as consumers. And yet inflation is a real thing. So if you're going to say $1 is now worth $1.28, you got to tell me that and adjust that into the price when you talk about price increases.
Yeah,
well, it might be. I mean, just quickly, Apple has been historically holding the line on certain price levels. Like the MacBook Air has traditionally been $999, sometimes $1,099, but they'll drop it back, and they will make adjustments to features, capabilities to hold that price line. So it is significant for people who might be thinking, gee, I'm gonna need a new MacBook like in next year, so I'll save up about $2,000, which is the usual price over the past 5 or 6, 7 or 8 years for a base level with some extra goodies on it. And so it is relevant, but that is a good point about buying power.
Yeah, and that Apple holding those prices level for as long as they did really essentially were ongoing price cuts as inflation went up. Absolutely. And then they hit a point where they felt that they couldn't do it anymore because they were losing their margins because of all of these other issues with chip availability. I want to point out that a few years ago, we mentioned that they're going to do their quarterly results at the end of the month. So they do every 3 months like clockwork. Well, a few years ago, they said, we're not going to tell you unit sales anymore. We're only going to report revenue. And that has a couple advantages. One is when they forecast their revenue, even if their sales drop, if everything costs more, their revenue might not drop, which is a nice trick because you're not looking at the total number. If everything costs more, but you sell fewer of them, you may still make more money. And to Glenn's point, and this is a point when I do all my charts that the laser printer is warming up, the color ink is being prepared.
Do you buy
One thing I don't do is inflation adjust, mostly because it's not how Wall Street reports it.
Right.
But I do think it is important to always keep in mind that if Apple's revenue is growing at a fairly nice clip, but not enormous, you could argue that what it's really doing is just treading water against inflation. And it's worth keeping that in mind, too.
MacBook price hikes expected to contribute to a 13.6% drop in global laptop shipments, according to TrendForce. I'm sure some of that includes Apple's laptop shipments, but of course every laptop costs more, so I don't know if you can blame that on Apple price hikes.
Well, and it's the same thing about that MacBook Neo. The MacBook Neo isn't going. It's a shame that it's going up in price, but it's not going up in price in isolation. Its competition is also going up in price.
Everything's going up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Apple, I think there's this idea, too, that Apple was keeping that price steady over time during periods of low inflation, and then during high inflation, keeping kind of a stable price because they squeezed their competitors. They had bought all the chips in the world at one point. They had bought all this capacity. They could reduce their margins slightly and still keep that very high margin they have relative to almost everybody selling anything that's comparable in the industry. So when you come to a point where they're like, we have squeezed, like, not only have we squeezed everyone else to the wall by buying capacity, we are now squeezed to the wall ourselves. Well, they can raise the price, and I don't think it has the same impact on them that it would if they hadn't spent that many years sort of destroying any effective alternative to them, right? I mean, at the same, not you can say like, I'll buy a MacBook or I'll buy a Dell, whatever, but it really does, have an industry-wide impact when they've been pushing the price that low. It really does hurt their competitors when they're doing superior sourcing and quantity purchasing.
Yeah, and let's not forget the absolutely insane, like mobster style markup on storage. Whereas like you can either spend 1/4 the amount of that upgrade on like an external SSD, or you could have it put inside the machine and spend 4 times as much. It was that was never something that had any tether to reality whatsoever. So we'll see how that affects things.
One way Apple's trying to ameliorate this crisis is buying RAM. We mentioned this last week from 2 blacklisted Chinese RAM suppliers. Apple trying to reassure the U.S. government that no, we're only going to use that RAM in Chinese MacBooks. It's not a security issue. We're going to keep it in China.
It's not actually a security issue the government has. But they're not on the federal blacklist of you can't do business with these companies. They're on the Pentagon's blacklist that basically says that, and their position is that if you do business with this Chinese company, they are so closely tied to the Chinese army that you are essentially giving money to the Chinese military.
Right.
And so that's why this is where all the Apple diplomacy has to come in, because they are actually free to deal with this company, but there will be serious political consequences if they don't have the tacit approval of the government. Also, Apple was trying to get assurances that, hey, I know that we can legally make this deal right now, but you're not about to actually put them on the actual blacklist where we suddenly can't actually serve these contracts, are you? Because that
would be a bad thing, because they would have maybe spent the money but not get the chips. Yeah. All right. So they're lobbying Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and the Trump administration. This is according to Bloomberg, nothing's final yet. Now, why would it help to only use this in China? Well, that frees up chips for the rest of the world. So to the degree you can do that, it helps you all around. We'll see if they succeed at that. It's interesting that China still has some RAM chips to sell. I guess that's because they can't sell it in the U.S.
Yeah, this is the challenge, right? Is that those are constrained in a way that the others, the sales are constrained in a way the others aren't, and so there's more available there.
Right. That's very interesting. All right. The final story in this sticker shock story is that Broadcom and Apple have agreed to keep their deal through 2031. Broadcom makes. Is it legacy nodes? They don't make the main processors or the GPUs. They make
it's legacy nodes. They used to do all the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi stuff for Apple, although Apple has sort of moved that to their own chips. But they are still they're making useful bits, and I think that's what Apple
screen
is.
Controllers, ASICs for inductive charging. iFixit found 4 Broadcom chips in the iPhone Air, including radios and a charging chip. Although Apple is moving all of their modems to Apple-made modems, right, away from Broadcom.
Right. Well, they were using Qualcomm for modems, but they were using Broadcom for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth.
I'm confused.
Also, there was a story about how I think it happened. It was put out this week that they are, for the next series of phones, they are going to use Apple Silicon for phones intended for foreign markets. For U.S. markets, they're going to stick with Qualcomm because Qualcomm has mmWave and they don't have it in Apple Silicon yet.
So, in fact, that takes us to the iPhone 18 Pro leaks. either Qualcomm or Apple would make the modem, according to these leaks.
Right, because millimeter wave is basically not implemented anywhere other than the U.S., right. But it is here, and John Gruber had a bunch of good posts about this. The idea is that the carriers in the U.S. who have invested in millimeter wave are not thrilled with the idea that Apple might roll out a phone that doesn't support it, because they, even though it's like Wi-Fi almost, but it's super fast.
Yeah,
and it's not it's in some city centers in various places, but still, Verizon did the work, and they want to boast about it, and it sets a high speed. AT&T has done less work, and I think nobody else has done any work on it. But it's around, and if you go to the Apple chip that they're planning, it doesn't implement it, and that is why you will probably get a Qualcomm chip in the U.S. if you buy an iPhone 18 Pro, but you won't the rest of the world, because the rest of the world doesn't care. So it's a little like how there are always been fluctuations in iPhone models between countries based on what frequencies are supported. So they would put different parts in. This is just going to be more dramatic because it's going to be a different supplier. It's going to be Qualcomm instead of the Apple modem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, we'll talk some more about the future coming up, because we're starting to get more and more tips as we get closer to September. Also, iOS 27, Mac OS Golden Gate, and more. You're watching MacBreak Weekly. Glenn Fleischman filling in for Christina. It's great to have you, Glenn. And apparently Glenn has no interest in Taylor Swift or Travis Kelce, and we're happy for that. Thank you.
Our producers approve.
Glenn, it's not a snub. They only had 1,000 seats. They were capped at 1,000 seats. I understand that not all of Travis's cousins could come. Okay,
right.
They had to cut the line somewhere.
But why Blake Lively? I mean, that really is a question. We'll get to that next week.
And amazingly, I don't know anybody who knows somebody who knows the mailman of Taylor Swift. So,
well, how could that be? What's your T-shirt? What's your T-shirt this week? We have to do the T-shirt check.
This is the T-shirt from Raubdruckerin, which is the thief printer, and she's an artist in Europe, I think, based in Berlin, who does. She does. I'll have to send you the URL.
Can you give us a twirl?
Rubbings of service covers. Formerly.
Oh, it's like a manhole cover.
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
She calls herself, Raub thief, because it's not illegal, but she goes finds them, cleans them off, inks them, and then makes T-shirts from them. And so it's just a great. It's a great.
Yeah,
it's like having a piece of the city with you in a weird way, because I'm sure there's grime in here. I've washed it, but there's it's the actual. That tactile sensation.
Oh, so that shirt itself was rubbed on a manhole.
Yeah, this is not a silk screen. This is literally created from it. And what's even better is my spouse, who knows me very well, I got this for a birthday or Christmas a couple of years ago, and I was like, I had not even mentioned how much I love these shirts, but she knows me. It's German. It looks like a letterpress.
Yeah.
It's
how could
City
you not?
Street.
How could you not love it?
It's great.
It's actually I've noticed that we have such a paucity of creativity in manhole covers here in the United States. Japan has the most beautiful, often colorful.
Oh, I've seen those
manhole covers. They're gorgeous. So yeah, I think it's an interesting tribute to brutalist design.
Yeah, it's great fun. We have fun manhole covers or service covers in Seattle. There's actually quite a few. I've thought.
Oh, do you? Oh, good.
Yeah. Right. Once I thought about doing, in my copious spare time, which I have, I thought about doing a project where I would geolocate the most interesting metal street furniture, manhole covers, and other kinds of plaques and things. And then I thought, I think I've gone too far. I can't do that. That's too much.
You know what I love about it is there's art all around us, and we often don't notice it. And it's kind of cool. This is the website.
Oh my God, she's pulling shirts right off of the sidewalk.
Yeah. This is literally, that's why it's.
I thought you meant she sourced them from a scrapyard or something and then put it in her studio. Oh my God.
That's why she's
That's why she has to sneak around, because
she's a thief. Raubdruckerin.
Yeah.
Is to print.
The local constabulary.
Now I love it even more.
It's even great. She's gone to some other places and done it too. It's just fun. There's 99% Invisible podcast. Their statement, Roman Mars' statement, is always read the plaque. And it's like you're in some weird place. And you're like, I don't know. There's a little sign to be like, on this spot, 100 people were had a mini uprising and took over Boston City Hall. I don't know, whatever. But like, you're like, I don't even know what this is about. So always read the plaque.
I love this. Now I'm going to buy. They're cheaper than they should be. She should charge more, given that she has to run around a manhole covers.
Well, wait till you see the shipping price on it from.
Europe, it's tariffs on the Berlin Metal hoodie.
It's a great idea. I think.
This is gorgeous. I would love.
That's just fun to say.
Look at that. And then you can explain to people why the radio tower is on your shirt.
Yeah, isn't that great? That Berlin Tower. I love Berlin.
That is so cool. Also, Andy Anako, and you're just wearing a plain brown shirt, but maybe your hat has something.
No. It says Dickies. On this little tag.
How dare you?
So basically it's a tribute to one half of the Smothers Brothers. I have a Tommy shirt. That
Tommy's
is
Bahama,
and this is the same color as their usual performance suits. They had those maroon suits with a little like neighbor collar.
Wow, I have not talked to Andy for a while, and I forgot the unending source of fabrication you were capable of without any provocation. That's incredible.
I like to keep on my toes. Keeps me out of jail.
His mind is a terrible and wonderful thing.
You know, in this July season, remember, no fabrication without provocation. So well done.
Is that?
And of course, Jason Snell is wearing his 6 colors, his beautiful Apple shirt.
Got the Apple rainbow going because it's on brand for me. I leaned in 11 years ago. I leaned into the 6 colors, and then Apple started leaning into it. And I'm like, great, it's give it to me. Yeah, more 6 colors Apple rainbows. I love it.
And I'm wearing a shirt with apples on it, but maybe I'm a little too literal.
That's pretty. I like that.
In my understanding of what Apple means. This actually are the apples from the orchard that Steve Jobs worked in barefoot. That started the whole thing. So
I see. Sure. Sure.
Very good.
The master of fabrication that Mr. Inatko is. Our show today brought to you by Delete Me. This is something you don't want to make up. There are people out there, malicious, horrible people who make a lot of money by taking your information and selling it on. And this is a problem for anybody who puts themselves out there, especially businesses. This really hit us as a small business. When you're a business owner, you can't hide. Putting yourself out there is part of the job. But the uncomfortable truth is promoting your business leaves you and your team exposed. Right now, 90% of business owners have their home address easily discoverable online. We did. And the average owner has more than 600 pieces of personal information just sitting there on the open web. I mean, when I say personal, I'm talking personal: email, phone number, home address, even details about your family. And what worried us is also details about your direct reports, their phone numbers, their information. And hackers can use that data. They did against us to hyper-target phishing attacks. It makes the phishing attacks more credible. They have real details. They don't sound like strangers. They sound like clients or partners we already trust. We got an RFP, a request for a proposal, from a company we've dealt with many times. It had a link that one of our employees clicked, and it wasn't from our partner. They'd been hacked, or maybe the hackers just knew the information, because that link had a man-in-the-middle attack that gave away our Google Workspace credentials. Attacks using verified personal information like that are 5 times more likely to succeed. And believe me, you don't want it to happen. We were lucky. We got away with it. They didn't manage to exploit it before we caught it. But that's not always the case. The average incident can cost a small business more than $120,000. That's the average. And 1 in 4 businesses will be impacted this year alone. At least we're not alone. We're part of the 1 in 4. And that's where today's sponsor, Delete Me, comes in, reducing exposure by up to 95%. We use Delete Me, and we have to. Delete Me removes the boss, our employees' personal information from hundreds of data broker websites, starving hackers of the fuel they use to build their target lists. And it's not just a one-time thing, because these data brokers are slime bags. They're like cockroaches. You can't get rid of them. Some of them pretend to go out of business and then change their names, and then all that data repopulates. So that's why Delete Me constantly monitors and removes your data. You'll also get regular privacy reports We get them on a regular basis, so you always know where things stand, what they removed, what they found, where they found it. Fortune 500 companies and government agencies have trusted Delete Me for over 15 years. That was a big part of why we trusted them. And now you can get that same enterprise level protection for your small business at a price a small business can afford. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Visit joindeleteme.com/twit-biz to start protecting your business with Delete Me today. And if you use that link, you're going to get a free year of social media protection for every seat you purchase. That's huge. joindeleteme.com/twit-biz. Now, I know that's a long URL, and it's important you get it right. Don't Google it, because there are other companies with the same name in the EU, and they don't do the same thing. You want to use the one at joindeleteme.com. And if you would, for our sake, would you please use the /twit-biz? That'll give you that extra year of social media protection for every seat you purchase, and also gives us credit, which is important to us. So joindeleteme.com/twit-biz. We thank them so much for their support of MacBreak Weekly. I think we had this as a late breaking story last week, but let's fill in the details. The Supreme Court agreed in their last week of term to, yes, hear the Apple appeal. I think this was the third time Apple had gone back to the Supreme Court. This time, it's the Apple Epic case. They're not going to rule on the ruling. They're just going to rule on Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers' declaration that Apple was in contempt of court.
Oh.
Apple petitioned the Supreme Court to intervene in a last-ditch attempt, this is from Ars Technica, to keep fees at an acceptable rate. In the petition, Apple argued the Ninth Circuit's spirit-based approach, Judge Gonzalez-Rogers said they violated the spirit, sharply conflicts, that's that 27% violated the spirit, right? Sharply conflicts with the contempt standard in other circuits, which only find contempt when companies defy explicit language in a dismissal order. Your Honor, the judge didn't say we couldn't do 27%.
She didn't say we couldn't sit in the backseat of the car and keep touching my brother, and I wasn't touching him. My finger was only this far away.
Don't make me pull this car.
The judge never said that.
Apple clearly could not be held in civil contempt in other circuits for charging a commission that's nowhere mentioned in the underlying order.
Come on.
So the Supreme said, yeah, all right, we'll take that, which is surprising since they had rejected two previous Apple requests and other areas of the same decision.
There was times when I say, Apple, would you just grow up? You're like this giant company.
Well, they're fighting.
You got a lot of money. It's funny. They're fighting for what's not enough money to be fighting for.
Yeah.
And that frustrates me because it feels like there are plenty of things we could say we wish they were doing at Apple, and this ain't one of them. And I don't think it even benefits the shareholders that much. I think the money is infinitesimal versus
they're like
goodwill.
Argentina, 2 goals down in the last minutes, and they just won't give up. I don't know. I had to make it a soccer analogy.
Some people like Argentina, though, and Apple makes themselves seem very...
Epic is preparing to fight. Epic said, we're heading to the Supreme Court, where we'll continue to fight against junk fees Apple charges on third-party payments. Remember, they charge 30%. The court said you can't do that, so they said, well, okay, 27%.
Yeah.
Plus an immense amount of bookkeeping that no one wants to have anything to do with. Yeah.
And this is the core of this case. The case is that Judge Gonzalez-Rogers said, look, what you're doing is not good enough. There's no competition here. You can't do 30%. You need to come back with a remedy. And Apple said, great, we've done a remedy where it's basically, if you do all the calculations, it's essentially 30%, and it won't address the underlying issue of competition, but you didn't tell us how low we had to go.
Yeah.
And so we did the minimum possible to do this ridiculous, literal read of what you said, even though you also made clear why you were ordering it. And Apple says that's fine because she can't hold them in contempt. It's like that kid who got away with everything in your school, right? Whereas like Apple's like, well, you didn't say it that way. You said this, and that's what I did. And the teacher's like, you know what I meant, right? So that's what the argument's going to be at the Supreme Court. It's literally Apple saying, yeah, but she didn't say it needed to be a lot less, so we didn't make it a lot less. She just said it needed to be less. And the counter would be, she also made it clear it needed to foster competition, and you built this in such a way that it will not. But that's why the Supreme Court took the case, is they think there's an interesting legal conversation to be had about judges' instructions and whether Apple can be held in contempt for, in Apple's opinion, a thing that she didn't specifically ask them to do. I roll my eyes at that, but I also see the argument, which is like, what I meant is not the strongest legal argument. You should, if you meant that, maybe you should have said that. Probably, though, the result will be, if Apple even wins this case, they'll just send it back to Judge Gonzalez-Rogers and say, okay, give them specific instructions this time. And she will, and then they'll have to do it.
Could they make, I just want to like, there's various things Apple does where I'm like, you're just being petty, or there are lawyers in there who've convinced the management that this is the right course of action, and they've been given too much free. It's like robots turning the planet to gray goo. It's like everything is a lawsuit. We don't need everything to be this way. You could just agree, do something reasonable. You'd give up a little money, maybe, but you might increase. There's a value for not making your customers angry at you and feeling like they have to find an alternative.
And meanwhile, Google has, in the face of the similar amounts of just losing this issue everywhere, decided for whatever motivation that they haven't been explicit about, okay, you know what? We will absolutely now totally revamp how we approach app stores and app installs. We will actually bring Epic Games in on the conversation so that we know that if we can make these people happy, then we can make courts happy and we can make other developers happy. And it is a comprehensive plan that seems to cover, we'll see how well it works out, but how the needs of developers, the needs of markets, and the needs of individual users who need to get access to apps. And it's like, at some point, I'm totally with you. It's like, at some point, Apple should have said, okay, you know what? This is not an isolated thing in which we're being treated unfairly. We are losing this battle everywhere. It's time to figure out how to adapt and hopefully surrender on terms that are at least partially beneficial to us, rather than just be petulant. And they're just being petulant at this point.
And spending millions. I mean, it doesn't cost them nothing to do this.
Meanwhile, Tim Cook on the line with the European Commission head, trying to negotiate. This is kind of going to be Tim's new job once he steps down. He's going to be the governmental liaison fella. Remember that EU users were pretty much cut off from Siri, from child safety, from the Apple Foundation models, because they didn't, the DMA prevented them. They didn't like the interoperability requirements of the Digital Markets Act, and they said, we don't want to do that. Can you give us a break here? We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where Apple said, just all it's going to take is 18 months. Can you give us 18 months? And the EU said, no. And I'm sure that's what Tim's saying is, let me explain. We don't want to do all this development if you don't give us the 18 months to do it. Right? Am I saying that right? This is a report from the Financial Times. Tim Cook met with, and I'm going to botch her name, Henna Virkunen, constructive talks on Tuesday last week as the two sides aim to lower the temperature in a bitter dispute over the iPhone maker's new Siri AI. Is it a bitter dispute? I don't know. I guess if you're in the EU and you don't get the new Siri, you maybe you're a little.
I would during WWDC, both sides were, I think, unusually vocal. Where they put Apple put right into the keynote. Oh, by the way, don't blame us. Those dinks over the EU are the reasons why you're not going to be getting these features.
A press release, the EU too.
Yeah, exactly. And then the EU at the same time said, look, we were trying to work with Apple. They said, well, can you give us like a year and a half to not comply with this? He said, no, we're not giving you a year and a half. We don't think you need a year and a half. And it wasn't like it wasn't diplomatic language. It was, why do you have to be this way, Apple? Well, because if you were being that way first, like, oh, for God's sake.
The Financial Times says it's Apple's lack of engagement, or Apple says, sorry, it's the EU's lack of engagement that's preventing it from launching Siri AI. In other words, they're not negotiating with us. And so Tim's placed a personal call, hoping that would perhaps clear the log jam.
And to be fair, Apple is this is the same as the App Store stuff, where for fairness across platforms, the EU is essentially saying that whatever Siri can do to control apps across the platform, third-party AI should also be able to do across the platform. And it is completely, wildly, I think, unknown whether you can actually allow that to happen and preserve some semblance of security and privacy across the device. So Apple's not being a jerk here. They are actually, I think they're defending an actual important principle. And it's possible that, look, we're not going to figure out compliance in a month. It really is going to take us a year and a half. But the way the EU regulates this stuff, it's not basically, here is the hammer, you are underneath the hammer is about to fall, you might want to get out from under the hammer. It actually is set up to be an ongoing conversation for compliance, with a lot of conversations after a decision has been made.
But nobody wants to make I don't think the EU is sort of implicitly legislating API access, but if I remember right, they don't build a standard for it. So it feels like, I don't disagree in principle that the EU wants certain things to be open to more platforms to reduce, to make things that are exclusive available in a fair way. And I don't disagree with Apple that there's certain things that they do that, if they opened it up in the way that the EU is saying, would actually have significant security problems or issues that could come up. So that's, but the conflict is like, the EU is really good at making standards. Why can't they make an API after all these years, sit down with the companies involved? The companies would not all act in good faith, or any of them, but it feels like you could come up with an API that you would then move towards for EU citizens that might still only be implemented there, but would allow, a happy result instead of whatever's going on. Maybe Apple would never agree with that, or Google, or whoever.
I think the EU's position is basically that we're a government regulatory agency. We're not experts on APIs. It's our position. We are correct to ask you, to tell you what we want you to do, but then you are free to figure out the technology that will best do it. And we will tell you whether it's okay or not. And sometimes it is very, as you say, we don't even know if this is feasible or not, but we're just going to make this rule, and it's up to you to figure out if this is even possible.
That's where it veers into insanity, honestly, is when it becomes, well, you're the tech wizards, you figure it out. And then it becomes like that, famous Washington Post editorial where they're like, surely somebody can invent a secure golden key that fixes encryption. And it's like, no, you're illiterate. You have no idea what you're talking about. And that's the danger when you have a regulator, is like, if they believe that this could just be solved by the boffins, bring in the boffins, they'll solve it. Then if they're deluded, that's really bad. And I think one of the other problems here is the complete lack of trust between the two parties. And I get why the EU doesn't trust Apple. But the problem is they are viewing Apple, I would say quite reasonably, saying, we're going to need to build something special for you. They view that as a lie or a stalling tactic. And while it might have the side effect of being a stalling tactic, it might. It's also true that, like, Apple's saying, why would we build something to maybe match your kind of squishy definition of what you want here, but you won't tell us if it will or not? And it's going to take us a year to build it, which, again, they may be dragging their feet and they could do it faster. But again, and that's the lack of trust, is like, they don't trust Apple, that Apple isn't just kind of fibbing about all of this and dragging their feet, because Apple's got a track record of doing that. They want to do as little as possible. See the other case, the Epic case in America about this. But Apple is frustrated because I think they realize that the EU doesn't understand what they're asking for and how complicated it is, and because of that, perhaps won't give them approval to find a solution. And what it says to me is this is a broken relationship. And if Tim Cook is indeed talking to the EU people about this, maybe what he's trying to do in his new role as chief diplomat is can they reset the relationship so that there's an understanding? Because, like, look, Apple doesn't want to do it, but Apple does want to be in the EU, and they do want to bring their features to the EU. I don't think ultimately Apple has brought a lot of things to, like, it would be different if Apple was like, we're just not going to do the App Store in the EU because you want us to do extra app stores, so we're out of there. But they're like, no, they built support for third-party app stores, a thing that they despise, but they did do it. So they've got a history of playing ball in Europe, at least to a little bit. But with the AI stuff and access to personal data, you are hitting on some of the real, like, huge triggers for both sides, and there's a lack of trust. And that's why I kind of despair for this unless Tim Cook and the regulators can kind of reset and there can be ideally some understanding on both sides. Because I think where we are now is that Apple feels like there is a bunch of stuff they need to do and that the EU doesn't understand what they're saying. And I think the EU says Apple goes blah, 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 blah about all this stuff they're worried about, but they're just a bunch of liars. They just don't want to do it because they want to have complete control. And both sides have points, but that is no way to have a relationship with these two parties. And that's why it feels broken right now. So good luck, Tim Cook. Another tough job for you, Mr. Chairman.
That's why you get the big bucks.
Yeah.
Greg Joswiak, Chief Marketing Officer at Apple, says, quote, this is from the Financial Times again, "This is not some sort of effort for us to be punitive over our feelings with the DMA. We've worked very hard to avoid this outcome, but the Commission has not accepted our proposals or meaningfully engaged with us." There's that phrase. The EU says Apple's seeking an unacceptable carve-out from its interoperability obligations. They pushed back at what they call, quote, a regulatory holiday, which would, and this, I have to underscore this is what they care about, would harm competitors. We've seen this before with EU regulations. It's really about protecting competitors, competition. Now, the Financial Times does say that there is some pushback from the general public. The dispute triggered a fierce public backlash against the Commission. Hundreds of emails from consumers accusing Brussels of depriving Europeans of a new technician. One EU official said a Commission spokesperson had received a stream of abusive messages, including death threats. So I think this is part of Apple's strategy: is let them hear from the people. We're gonna cut you off and see what the people have to say. I don't know how responsive to the people it
is a strategy. I mean, it is a political body, right? Like if
they get elected,
if people in the EU are grumpy about what the European Commission is doing, it gives Apple some ammunition. It gives Apple some ammunition to say, your attitude here is making your people angry because they want these useful features that you refuse to allow us to give them. Now, again, a lot of complexity there, and it absolutely serves Apple, but it's got to be part of the conversation because theoretically, the European Commission is serving the people of Europe. And if the people of Europe are mad, then they're going to have to explain themselves at the very least to the people about why they're doing it the way they're doing it. And I don't know. My frustration here is that it seems like both sides have reason to not trust the other, and they're not even on the same page at this point, which is, again, good luck to Tim Cook, but it's tough. Because looking at it, like, it's funny because we've had a lot of debates on this show about European regulations and Apple, but like I see their argument is AI seems to be kind of important. Maybe giving a platform owner another lever on top of all of this to completely control it and box out competition is bad. But I also see Apple saying, yeah, letting random AI companies have complete unfettered access to personal data on the phone is also bad. Like, I think both of those things have truth in them, but how do you square the circle then? I don't know. It's tough.
Sometimes the win is not so much that the regulatory agency gets the regulations in force, but simply that the company that doesn't want to play ball is forced to say, look, we are going to prove to you that this is not possible, that this is not tenable. And I think that is a positive thing. You can't have these companies basically thinking we don't want to do this and saying, well, no, this is just technically impossible and we'll destroy the product. And for that reason, we're doing the valiant thing. I mean, I'm thinking about, I think during the Biden administration, there was some sort of a rule or a law based regulation saying that car companies have to figure out how to essentially how to make car ignitions that will not start if the driver is inebriated. And there was a long timeline for that, but there was also a part of it that says that you have a timeline. If you can't make by this timeline, you automatically get an extension. And also, if by the end of the extension you can't do it, you just simply have to simply have to prove to us that you tried, and here are the technical reasons why that's not possible. So that is a case of saying, okay, you boffins go at it. Just let's wave the magic pixie stick of technology and science and hope that it'll work. But basically saying that it's worth trying, it's a goal that's worth exploring. Don't simply tell us that you can't do it. Try it and then tell us what you tried and why it didn't work, and then we'll say, okay, I guess that wasn't going to work out at all. So
an interesting counterexample may also be RCS encryption, end-to-end RCS encryption, because Apple was always kind of like, we don't really care about RCS, and people complained about it, and it's the green bubble, blue bubble issue with text messaging. But then Apple's like, all right, we're going to push RCS out, but there's no standard. But when there is a standard for end-to-end encryption, we're going to do it, and Google worked it out, and so you can get end-to-end encryption and RCS-based messaging now. And then Apple suddenly releases a beta. What is it, 2 months ago or 6 weeks ago? They pushed that out, and this was all done with, from what I can tell, with no arm twisting, just because there was a sense in the industry that they needed interoperability, maybe also because it arose from Apple's desire to do user-facing privacy things too.
The original RCS, I think, was a regulation in China that drove them to implement it.
Oh, they had to do it, but they didn't have to do it worldwide. They could have limited it, but that would have annoyed people too.
And I think this is the truth. Is like when you see Apple get pushed into doing something it doesn't want to do, it does seem to follow its principles in doing so. And so when it said, look, okay, we're going to do RCS, fine. But they also said, the problem we have with this is we really want it to be encrypted, and it's not in a lot of circumstances. And they, in their initial announcement, they said, we are working with the standards body to see if there is a way to get RCS to meet our standards for privacy. And time passes. 15 minutes later, and they did it, right? Like they got it there. And that's a case where Apple they got pushed to do a thing they didn't want to do, but in the end, it kind of made things better for everybody. And it's like, that's a good model. We'd like to see more of that, I think.
Yeah. Well, also, that's also the reason why AirDrop now works across Android devices, not because there was some brave coalition between these two companies, but because there was a regulation that simply says there is an open Wi-Fi standard. You have to simply support this standard. You don't have to do this yourself, Apple, but you have to support this open Wi-Fi standard that actually exists. Once it existed, Google was saying, hell yes, we're going to basically build AirDrop support into our own version of that. So it's like Jason said, it's a complicated issue that involves lots of discussion. Sometimes Apple doesn't help its case when it really does act like a petulant child on things like the App Store stuff, because that's when we're saying, okay, you know what? We're not going to take your word for this, Apple. We're going to fight this out and make sure that you have the documentation. Like especially since during a discovery on, oh gosh, I can't remember what case it was. It came out that Craig Federighi, inside Apple, they had conversations about improving the cross-platform performance of iMessage on Android, and one of the end comments from Apple Communications was, I think, Craig Federighi saying, we don't see any way that if we do that, it doesn't encourage people to buy Android phones, so we're not going to do that. That's like, okay, I wish I had done that as a phone call instead of as an email that could be revealed.
I should point out, this is somewhat related to the RCS discussion. The EU had a proposal back in the spring called chat control, which would, experts say, have undermined basically encryption completely. Chat control was voted down, fortunately, but it's back. And on Thursday, they're going to vote with new rules that make it more likely to pass. And that would be a big shift for encrypted messaging. It would require... Oh,
this is one of these things, on-device scanning? Or
yes,
is it,
on-device scanning.
Apple backed off from that because people were so angry about...
Right.
And I mean, this is the problem. This is the problem. It's like, it's like, how often do you beat your wife kind of things? It's like, oh, so you love child pornography. It's like, no, nobody does. But it's such a blunt instrument against everyone's privacy. And, from what I can tell, like a lot of things that happen with like law enforcement actions and cases being solved, things like that, a lot of the work that ever happens is because people are sloppy or they do real world work. And that's where they take these outfits down. They infiltrate them. It's not, having a backdoor doesn't actually help, because that's not how these groups of people work, because it's groups. If it's one person solo who possesses a lot of stuff, well, you're never going to find that person anyway. And this might find one person like that. It's the trading of stuff and the creation of stuff that's the primary issue. And that's where law enforcement focuses. And they get into it because all those people have lots of issues. You don't get involved in this because you are a competent, well-functioning person who has no, is just like, oh, I'm going to violate the law in this one horrific way. It's like, no, that's so anyway, all these things are like, we need this for protect children against, child sexual abuse. And it's like, you're using it for entirely to invade our privacy, but you have a weapon and you're going to use the weapon against us.
The Greens Party, which is against chat control, said children are protected by smart enforcement, not by scanning the private messages of millions of innocent people. So we thought this was dead in the water last spring when Germany withdrew its support of it. Apparently, it is not. In fact, because they've been able to find a parliamentary maneuver to change the rules, it does seem likely that it will be implemented on Thursday. We'll watch that with interest. I'm sure Steve Gibson will
see. Every time those things come through, it's just the devil's in the details. And as they start to try to enforce the things, and they realize that companies will withdraw. I mean, I don't know if Apple is going to withdraw iMessage from
very famously,
Europe,
Meredith Whittaker of Signal said if chat control passes, Signal is out of the EU. And this is that same kind of maneuver that Apple's using. Like, you want our features, you're going to have to do the right thing. I'm not sure this is in the same ballpark. Clearly, chat control is not the right thing. Yeah. And on the other side of the Caucasus, Russia, which really wants to insist that Apple install state-required apps on the iPhone, pretty mad that Apple's not doing that. They're going to fine them a whopping $52 million. So I don't know if that's enough to get Apple to. Did they even care about the Russian market?
No.
Well, but it's causing them more and more trouble because, number one, they have to navigate sanctions, which are very, very complicated. So if they're operating an app store, they're already. This is the reason why Russian banking apps are disguising themselves as other apps to get into the. It's happened twice in the past month. And it's because Apple, with other apps, it's so difficult to figure out. Well, they got into trouble and they had to pay a fine several months ago because of an app that was created by a company that was legit at the time it was submitted, but then changed hands a couple of times and then was in violation of sanctions, and so they had to withdraw it and pay a fine. Meanwhile, Russia is the number of takedown requests of apps in the App Store is I think well into the thousands, and they're also having all this political trouble where they're being insisted to put all these the state-sponsored messaging app, the state-sponsored social media apps. I mean, they're not making enough money to make it worthwhile to all of these headaches. I wonder what those conversations are like.
Apple hasn't sold its products directly in Russia since 2022. They did remove Russian applications from the App Store. These applications made by VK, so they're called the VK apps, were withdrawn from the App Store, Russia says, without warning or explanation. I don't know how they talk. Without warning or explanation. Now, there we go. Thank you, Boris Bednov. Now the country has taken even stricter measures, says Apple Insider, issuing a warning to Apple saying, you could face $52 million fine by July 15th if you don't comply.
There's a great sociological study waiting to happen about which accents are acceptable.
I know.
For white
Lisa
men
often
to make
says
today.
You can't use that one anymore.
Russia's
I think
okay.
I don't know. I think you can do Russian still.
You can do Russian.
Russian is okay.
Russian's fine. We can all do Russian.
Yes, we'll all talk Russian.
But
so this is Max, which is a messenger program, which obviously the Kremlin has access to all the encrypted messages in Max, and Russian search engines, which actually I think that's not unreasonable to say. You have to put our own search engines on there. But Max, I can understand why Apple.
And also remember that they also forced Apple to add a page to the setup process for iPhones, so that basically to add in, basically here is a selection of authorized government approved apps that are within the. Would you like to download and install these apps right now? I think that happened a couple of years ago. I don't know if it's still applicable, but again, it's just such
Apple's
an unusual
cooperated
place.
to the extent that they've removed apps from the App Store on the request of the Russian government. The Russian government's not happy they removed the VK apps. However, I don't know how Apple will respond. I don't think they really care particularly. And that fine is not going to change anything. Right? I mean,
or 18 pairs of authentic Levi's blue jeans.
We want Levi's. Send Levi's.
Beatles albums, Levi's blue jeans.
It's a new version of Goodbye Lenin, but I don't know how it ends.
Tell me you grew up during the Soviet Union without saying I grew up during a period when the Soviet Union was a thing.
Blue
jeans.
They're having nostalgia now in the Soviet Union because everyone's waiting in line for gas, and people are like, "Listen." People are like, "Did you not remember?"
You are watching a special broadcast of Apple MacBreak Weekly on the tweet. With Glenn, aren't you? I know. Oh no, Andy has a Slavic origin. His name tells the story.
No, I've got. I had family from Danzig, which is now Gdansk, in Polish, from a town that I grew up. My family would say we have relatives from Dukshytski, is what they would say, and I thought this was some silly family joke. There is a town called Dukshytski in Russia.
Okay.
Dukshytski, which it does exist.
Yeah,
he comes from Shitsky.
Your family is from the same part of Europe that my wife's mom's family is from, which is very much like, where are they from? And it's like, well,
all the places.
It was Poland, it was Russia, it was Germany, and they didn't go anywhere until they left.
Still there.
Pogroms, but yeah, like that part of Europe really, they kept moving the borders around and the people inside it. So
all three of you have some origins from.
Not me, but my wife does. Not me. I am super British Isles guy here. Yeah.
That's my spouse is Scots Irish German, so my family is my children are a cavalcade of Eastern, Central, and Western Europe.
Yeah.
So good to have all three of you here on MacBreak Weekly. So good to have all of you watching. We appreciate it. We do MacBreak Weekly on Tuesdays. I think you've figured that out if you're watching live. We are not, unfortunately, able to stream to all the normal outlets today. Having a little trouble with one of our providers. We are on YouTube, so those of you watching on YouTube, thank you for being here. Normally we do YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, not TikTok, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Kick, and of course Club Twit Discord. But we're glad to have all of you watching on YouTube today. Thank you. On we go with the show. Let's talk a little AI. An update to Apple's Creator Studio, giving you a little bit of AI. If you have the subscription, you've got AI-powered features in Final Cut Pro. Apple Insider says, whether you want it or not. Well, you don't have to use it, right?
They're doing some auto transcription stuff, which is cool.
That's great.
They've got a smart mask feature that I've heard people I know who've tried it out have said that it was very impressive. I haven't had a chance to use that yet.
These are the two greatest things, and kind of across all the Adobe apps I use too, is like when they added good auto transcription and then like Photoshop's find object thing, it's like, like a 10,000 hours of time in my life silhouetting things has just disappeared. This is great.
Yeah.
So good.
And generate captions is great too. I don't know why anybody would complain about any of this, except that the word AI just.
Those are more like machine learning component, neural network components, deep learning components are not driven by LLMs. I think, I don't know, there's some level where there's crossover I don't always get, but I'm like, the silhouetting is a machine learning algorithm because you can't generate that. It's not a generative thing to generate it. You have to actually have tons of analysis that lets the machine learning algorithm determine what the edge is. So that's still, if you don't like LLMs, it's still that evil AI.
It's kind of funny though, because the new the latest updates to Photoshop Creative Suites. I think they bought I wish I can remember the name of the company, but a very, very famous company that does like AI denoise and AI sharpening and that sort of stuff. So in addition, now when you go to the sharpen menu, you have basically two or three options. You have the old-fashioned, no, we're just using algorithms to do it. B, machine learning AI, and now this new like actual AI. And when I tried all three, and the AI one was by far not the best one. It was it was unnatural. It was fine, but when you then like zoom in, you're like, oh God, it's not right. Wrong, but it's not as good as simple, like a simple basic, like been around for the past 15 years sharpening algorithm.
I think you could say the same thing about the outpainting, the new outpainting in Apple's photos, right? It looks good until you really pixel peep.
Yeah, it's funny. I've used outpainting a very little bit because I don't want to do, most of the stuff I do has documentary aspects of it, so I can't. The only outpainting I'll do is literally in the margin that's trimmed off, but I don't have that eighth of an inch, so it's not even seen, but you have to give an image that goes to that whatever, and then they literally cut it off. But that's sort of
that's fine because you're never going to see it. So, yeah. New features.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm just saying that those are the categories where it really tests like what you actually believe about how wrong AI is, because I think most people will say, oh, well, an AI actor on an AI student set doing a script that was generated by AI, oh, that's horrible, horrible, horrible. But when you talk about tools like all the time, like I want to rotate this photo just like this, but I can't that introduces like empty space that needs a sliver of space that needs to be filled in, or in video editing, like I just need this shot to go like half a second longer. I turned off the camera too early. The beat is wrong. It needs to hold on that shot for another half a second. Okay, and it can generate a half a second of not just simply freeze and stay, but actually now the person is blinking and turning away, and it looks perfectly fine because it's only a half a second. Is that wrong? Because it's helping to fuel a very, very, what the director and the editor thinks is a very, very important creative choice. That's where it becomes really, really difficult and awkward to have these totalitarian arguments against AI. It's almost like we have to keep moving those goalposts in our head because they keep extending the length of the playing field about how good and how practical some of these tools actually are.
Mm-hmm. Other new features, new creator themes, new auto mask feature. That's actually, we talked about that. Color match. They've updated Final Cut Camera too with clean HDMI out, which is nice. I'm surprised it didn't have that before. There's now ProRes LT in there. Which if Alex were here, I'm sure he would give us a dissertation on why that's good, but no idea. If you know, then you know. And Logic Pro has a redesigned chord ID that it could identify extended chords and inversions more accurately. That's got to be AI. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny too because that was a feature before, so it's like I think maybe at least my read on that is you're seeing the technology accelerate there, where they built this AI-based chord ID. And then, like, I don't even know how many, like a year later, maybe they redesigned it. And that strikes me that they decided they could do it better. And so they threw it out and brought in a new model that does it. But it's pretty cool that it just will look at your tracks and know what chords you're playing.
That's a model upgrade, I'm sure. That's all that is.
Yeah, that's almost certainly.
Yeah.
Maybe some design changes around it, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, bunch of new features if you're a subscriber. Pixelmator Pro. I'm glad they're giving some love to Pixelmator Pro.
Yeah, a lot of connectivity between all those apps and Pixelmator, where there's more kind of like getting things in and out of Pixelmator now. I should also say for people who are fans of the broader audience who uses Numbers and Keynote and Pages, there are some feature updates in those apps that do not require the subscription. If you're not a subscriber to the Creative bundle, you will still have some new features in those updates too. And that's the thing they got to do now is they got to differentiate. There are a few like AI connected features or suite connected features like the Pixelmator stuff that they that's just for people who are paying the subscription. But there are also a bunch of new features that are in there that are for everybody for the free version of those apps. So I hate that we have to differentiate between the free versions of those three apps and the pay versions, but that's where we are. But
do you pay for? Do you subscribe to iWork?
I don't. I mean, I don't pay for the Creator Studio because I already have Logic and Final Cut on the Mac.
Me too. Yeah.
So all I'm really getting out of it then is Logic and Final Cut on iOS, where I might use Final Cut Camera and Final Cut on the iPad once a year or twice a year, in which case I should probably just turn it on for a month. And I don't find the AI features in the iWork apps compelling at all. So it's one of those things like it would be a much more compelling thing if I didn't already have Final Cut and Logic, but I do. So and you can have those on the Mac and you just get to keep them. So I have no motivation to do it.
Now, if they upgraded Pixelmator Pro significantly, photo editing is one of the things I still really do a lot, especially on the iPad. I might take a look at that for that, but
I'm super
that
excited
too.
about the next story. I'm like champing.
Are you champing at the bit?
At the bit.
As one does?
As a horse might.
I'm champing
as one does?
At the MCP story. Which sounds obscure.
So this is obscure, but if you're an AI user, you'll understand why it's important. Safari has an MCP server. So I, with my AI work, have special versions of various browsers that are controllable by the AI. Mm-hmm. Safari was never one of those, but now it is. So Glenn, this has made you champ?
Yeah, because I think, one of the great uses of coding agents is fixing web crud, right? and solving problems. Like I could spend the rest of, I know that it's like people who spend their entire career so far doing web stuff, doing JavaScript and doing server side components. I know it's all split up now and some people are full stack still or whatever, but like there's just so much. But I, like so many people, have cruddy old sites and I've gone through and been like, hey, Claude, look at this cruddy old site. I can't figure out what's wrong. And also the HTML is bad. Can you modernize it? Can you put an open graph? Can you solve the bugs? Can you clean it up? Can you pass it validation? And it would take me vastly longer if I could do it and not be worth it. But I think, that's one utility. But I'm actually using Claude with something called, it's not Orchestrator. What is it? It's called, it's a headless Chrome browser that it can control.
Yeah.
Playwright, yeah. I think.
Playwright, yeah.
Yeah. So it does it. So I can say, do this thing until it's right. And it just does it behind the scenes. This doing it in Safari makes it, I know I could do it with other browsers, but Safari is the browser I tend to use. And I also, I think Apple's integration is often better than than third parties. So they're going to let it work with coding agents. But I just love the idea of going to, letting it have access to everything. Like, all right, here, I'm on a site, mess around with it, figure out what's wrong, tell me, and then we can deploy the fix instead of, I just can't keep all of JavaScript and HTML and in CSS in particular. Oh my God, I have some.
Oh, goodness heaven.
Yeah. CSS justifies Claude code in my mind. Like just because
100%.
No human being can, it's the worst thing since SendMail configuration files for those in the know, back years ago.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I'm
excited
for better integration.
I was going to say, like building my own site, it's like it was so stagnating because trying to get CSS to do 1/2 or 1/10 what I wanted to do was impossible. Even when it was just, okay, I've got a commercial theme that is noted for being very, very easy to adapt just by using style sheets, could not get anything to work the way I wanted to. But then once Gemini got really, really good at it, I could simply say, here's what I want you to do. Here's what I think the approach should be. And now one of the great things about putting agentic resources inside the browser is that now, whereas the development cycle used to be, okay, I want to implement this, and it would generate some CSS and some JavaScript, and I'd implement it. So, okay, it doesn't work. Here's a screenshot what it looks like, and I think it's not targeting this correctly. When the Safari's agent is agentic, then the agent can simply put in the change, generate the page, look at what comes out, and then realize that, okay, that didn't work correctly. So now I'm going to need to keep adjusting this, that, and the other.
The iterative feedback is so great that you can say, like, keep doing this until it's right. I feel like it's relatively new now in the agentic stuff. Like you could get some of that before in certain structures, or you could build them. But now I feel like a lot of the stuff I do is like, here's my outcome. Let's talk about it. And then just do it and leave me out of it until it's correct, and then I can do the next design phase.
Were you the one that found a bug in like your 10-year-old website?
Oh, yeah. I said, what's wrong with this site I've been running for 29 years?
29-year-old, okay.
Yeah, and it said, oh, here's a whole bunch of injection things that you never, they're never exploited to my knowledge. Here's like all this stuff that you should fix immediately. And I'm like, oh my God. Well, so I hit a button and it essentially ran through them.
This is a sad day today because this is the day that Fable is no longer available in my Claude Max subscription.
Is it the expiration date?
Yeah, it's July 7th. I don't think it's been turned off yet, but I don't dare use it because if you use it and it's not covered, it's very, very, very expensive.
Today in this week in tech news, Leo Laporte ran up a $500 million bill with Anthropic.
Easily.
He's fled the country. No sign of Leo.
I stayed up late last night trying to use every last drop of Fable before it was gone. I'm using it to do a big redesign of one of our most important workflow apps, our ad sales app. And it's doing a great job, by the way. It's incredibly good. Yeah. So what I said is, look, I'm going to lose you tomorrow. Could you please I'm going to have to use Opus 4.8. Could you just tell it how to do it so, it can do it right? And I'm hoping it did that properly, and we'll see. We'll find out. It did it so far, so good. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. A friend of my wife asked me the other day, she said, what are tokens in this context? And I said, I don't know if I'm well enough informed, but what I want to tell you is, like, when you type something into an AI, it then actually generates all the instructions for the AI. You're not actually talking to the AI. And if you look at the transcripts of what it actually does, like, that's all the tokens. That's how I understand it. It's breaking it down to the task. So
it's tokens in and then it's tokens out too.
Yeah, tokens out. So
you get both.
You're asking, and then it has to summarize it. But I'm like, you're asking, hey, Fable, talk to your slightly less intelligent sibling.
Yeah. Using tokens it's tokens all the way down. Web browser integration, though, is very important. And I think it's nice for Apple to do that in Safari, because Safari's not like the others. And so to whatever degree you can make your site work well on Safari as well as on Chrome, that's a good thing.
Also, I've heard from people who are aficionados of MCP servers that this is a really good one.
Good.
I mean, it's conflicting two things. One is AI moves really fast, so you always expect the newest one is going to be the best, but also it's Apple, and Apple is like got a weird relationship with all this stuff. It's the former of those. Apple is doing this now, and it's apparently a very good MCP implementation. This is called Safari Technology Preview. You can download it from Apple's website. A lot of us call it Purple Safari because it's basically a second Safari app that runs, but it's the stuff that isn't yet in the official shipping Safari, and so the icon is the Safari icon, but purple. And it's been a great preview of all sorts of things. There's a bunch of, that's where they implement stuff first. So you can look at it on your website and go, oh, do I want to turn this new CSS feature? Like last year, I think they did the feature where there's a new multi-line composer for text. And if you turn that on, it reduces it breaks text on lines differently in order to make them more pleasing. And that's a CSS feature, and you can turn it on or not. And the nice thing, I was able to experiment on my website with that feature before it ever shipped to customers by using Safari Technology Preview, by the Purple Safari. And then you go in and you turn on basically this, you allow remote and agents to control this browser, at which point the MCP server is on.
So what people will do, this is the new world, is they will point their AI, whether it's an agent like Hermes or a Claude Code or Codex, at a page introducing the Safari MCP server, and just say, implement this. And it will just go, it'll churn away, and you'll suddenly have an MCP server, which is very handy to have.
Yeah, I saw there's a Dropbox extension people really liked. I never used it. That's it's end of life. I think the developer decided they're not using Dropbox, and I think John Gruber wrote about it. Nick Hare over at Pixel Envy, and I was like, oh well, somebody's just gonna describe it, and there'll be maybe not a replacement. That's too much. Maybe there's other things going on. But when apps die now, as long as they're utility size, I think we're going to see. And John wrote about that.
Or if they're open source, and you can take the code and adapt it. Forking it is no longer the tragedy that it has to be. In fact, actually, the tragedy now is that there are infinite numbers of forks of popular open source projects. If you go search for an open source project now on GitHub, you'll have to really work hard to get the original as opposed to somebody's fork of it.
And we need some kind of curation. We need a Yahoo for the best versions
this
of
is
each,
the original.
Yeah, this is the one that'll actually work.
Interestingly, this isn't technically coming from Apple. It's WebKit, right? So it's really WebKit doing this, but it is Apple, right?
I love WebKit's posts. They're just so much more ebullient and open. They'll be like, "Hey, we added 733 things, and here they are." And they just kind of blow it all out, and they're not reserved in the way that other Apple postings often are, or the tone of the developer site, which is very flat.
If you go to the WebKit site, it says a fast open source web browser engine. Which is just primarily used on Apple stuff. Yeah. And I presume that everybody on the team works for Apple. Maybe not. I don't know. It's pretty much that way with Chromium. Is that Chromium's pretty much a Google project. I don't know what WebKit is. WebKit was originally an open source tool. I think it came from what was it? Conqueror,
KDE,
the KDE browser,
right. KHTML.
Yeah, and then adopted by Apple, and Apple's support, I think, keeps it alive, which is good because we We don't want to be in a.
We need multiple engines, particularly given that how wired up Chromium is for sending signals. It's like,
yeah. Well, and everybody, I would say everybody using AI who's working with the web is probably using some sort of Chromium MCP server. So it's really good to have one for Safari.
Yeah.
To make for if nothing else, to ensure compatibility.
Yeah. Particularly when these agents are the job is going to be, hey, book me a hotel here. Make sure that it's near a place where I can order a pizza and don't have to eat from the hotel restaurant. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God. Sometimes when you say things like that, I'm like, oh yeah, Yahoo Pipes is basically was like what AI could do for us now is find me a pizza place within 10 miles of this thing. And it always
the history of the internet is the commerce and porn and pizza. It's like those three are the main drivers. How can I make it easier to get porn, pizza, or
that pizza place that took Bitcoin briefly? I think they have $1 billion of the Bitcoin if they can find it. I don't know.
Yeah. That guy bought one pizza for like 12,000 Bitcoin or something like that. I think we have a title: Commerce, Porn, and Pizza. Let me just write that
That's
down.
Good. Yeah. That's it. I remember, boy, that was funny. Many, many years ago, I met the Netscape webmaster, really lovely guy, I'm forgetting his name, at a conference. And he said, this is maybe 97, 96. And he said, he had been on a panel at another conference about video. And he said, yeah, we're really striving to get 320 by 240 at 12 frames per second. And somebody next to him worked for a porn site and said, do you know how much people will pay for that on our site? We're already doing that. We're streaming. They don't care. I'm like, all right, yeah. He's like, oh, okay.
You want 18K? We got it. Yeah.
It was worthwhile.
It's as good as the real deal. Speaking of good, Siri AI finally good.
Yay!
It can, and it's being, it's interesting. Have you tried the new developer beta 3 now?
3's out. Yep.
So we've got to be close to the public beta, because I really would like to try this.
So yeah. I mean, it's possible that this is a potential candidate for public beta release, and that might happen next week. They only say July, and sometimes it happens. I think it even happened last year, where we all kind of assumed that a particular build would be the public beta, and then it wasn't, and it sort of slid back, and then there was a public beta, but it had a different build than the developer beta, which means they did another build because they were not ready to release that build. So, but yeah, I mean, I think what they do is they target mid-month and have room to slip because they want to ship it in July. So yeah, I would not be surprised, and I don't know anything about this. There's my canary. I don't know about the public beta. Sometimes I do, but I do not know right now. I would say beta 3 feels a little bit like it might be a candidate to be the public beta build, but only if they don't find, it only came out yesterday, right? So if they find issues, they have the ability to say, no, not that one. But, if it looks good, maybe there would be a public beta release, I don't know, next week sometime, but they've got time because they only promised July.
One of the most exciting features of Siri AI has now emerged in the third beta, the ability to talk to third-party apps. And a 9 to 5 Mac has an example of checking your electric car for the battery level. That's just one example. I mean, presumably this will happen with other apps as well. But this is good. I mean, there's obviously more you want to do than that. But it works with Tessie, but not the official Tesla app. So I guess app developers have to turn that on. They have to. It's an intent, I presume, that they have.
Right.
To
Yeah. And Tessie is generally for those who don't know, that's like the indie Tesla app that controls everything. Because as is the story from throughout history, the official app from the vendor is slower to do new things, and the ones that are built by fans and other third parties, they're on the cutting edge. So are we surprised that the fan indie Tesla app can do this? And I think I saw that the Ford app does it too. So it's obviously, I think it's probably app intense, and Tesla will presumably update their app. But it's a first inkling, right, that of what you're supposed to be seeing here, which is Siri AI is supposed to look at app intents and be able to figure out that, I need to ask that app for this information so that I can give it back to you, or tell that app to do something for you. That's the dream. And I think it's natural that there's not a lot of that right now because it's beta season. Developers of third-party apps are worried about getting their apps running by the time that the OS ships, not for people who are on the beta. And this is always the problem, is that, there's stuff that it's hard to test during the summer because the apps aren't there, because the app developers also are taking the summer to develop their apps.
Yeah, default folder didn't work for the first one or two betas, and I was like, I'm lost without default folder.
Yeah,
It's like
spoilers for
someone cut
my
off one
pick of the
hands.
week, by the way. Spoilers. It's
Oh,
yeah,
but they've updated.
but it's
Sorry.
updated now. Thank you.
It's updated now.
Stay tuned.
Sorry.
By the way, the Discord chat tells me that they have extended Fable to the 12th.
Oh,
So I got 5 more days.
Keep working on it, Leo.
Yes!
Quick, before it's too late.
Well, there's been, it's so funny to watch. The place to watch this now is X.com, which I'm sad to say because I was off X. But if you want to know, the good and the bad of AI, that's the place to be. And I've been watching people freak out, and like there was a lot of posts yesterday saying, "Here's how to take Fable and take its rules and apply it to Opus 4.8, so it's as good as Fable," and which of course is nonsense. And then there was all this speculation that OpenAI would release their updated ChatGPT or GPT 5.6, which is rumored to be very, very good, on the day that you could no longer use Fable. That would be smart, right?
Smart of them.
Like, oh well, you can always move over here. And so I have subscriptions with both. So I'm just waiting.
My first, I was using Siri AI the other day because I have a mere, I want to say 9 Take Control books to update this summer and 2 new ones to write. Yep, it's exciting. It's exciting when Apple changes everything, but it's at least the interface is not completely changed in the way it was last year. But I was testing. I went to like where was it? I was someplace and you could right click, and one of the options, it's a obscure thing. You're in system settings, privacy and security, and you're looking at startup items and login items. So you right click and it has some options, and the top is Siri AI. And I'm like, I will say, tell me about this login item. And it says the login item section is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you shouldn't really be contextual because you don't have information about the thing I just right clicked on, but you're pretending like you do. Maybe a later version will, but I thought that would be kind of awesome if you right click a thing in system settings, which has so many things now, it's particularly a specific installed thing, and say, what the heck is this? It'll be like, this is in system agents and you should install Lingen X to remove it. And I don't know, something advice instead of just a listing.
I'm sorry. I have to leave now because I have some AI coding. No, just
fabled.
I hear you.
Fabled Leo Laporte.
I heard from a friend of mine who's a developer who said, "Here's what you do: every time you get access to a new model, the first thing you do is you point it at your code base and you say, find the bugs."
I do that.
Then keep doing that until it can't find the bugs anymore. And then somebody else, you'll do it with Claude, and then OpenAI will have a new model, and you're like, all right, new model, find the bugs. Because they do it. This is. I think I might have mentioned this last week. Marco Arment released a beta of Overcast, and he said he found 4 incredibly subtle bugs that he'd been trying to track down and couldn't find in his own code that he wrote. And he pointed an AI tool at it, and it found those bugs. And then he would look, and he'd be like, "Why is that?" And then he has that moment as a programmer where he's like, "Oh, right." But it was not something he saw. And ask a new model to find your bugs. And it found them, which is it's just amazing. Incredible stuff.
I asked Cindy Crawford, and she had no insight into my code base at all, though, so I don't.
Well, you got to ask an AI model and not a super model, and that was your big mistake. There are other questions to ask supermodels. Okay. Glenn, come on. I love Claude, but I wouldn't call Claude a super model.
Not yet.
No. In the same way.
Not that until pretty. Claude does the bathing suit issue of Sports Illustrated. SIAI. Although I think SI is already running AI stories.
Artificial Illustrated.
Oh no, you said it. Now it's going to come into existence.
Yep.
Damn it.
Yep.
Sorry.
Also known as DeviantArt.com.
Yeah, let me ask is it just you, Jason, that's used Developer Beta 3? Anybody else?
I've got 2. I'm just installing 3 now that I know about it.
Yeah. I'm just curious, have you been playing with it, Jason? Are there any other features you've noticed, new features?
I've only started there, that app intents, hints of app intents is a good place to start. And what else is in there? There's it's little stuff. Like there's still some stuff trickling in, and there's some tweaks going on.
Here's what I found in Apple Home, just by accident. We installed a new camera in the house, and we have 3, not because we're paranoid. That sounds terrible. It's just we've had issues. So we have cameras, and we never see anything on them except raccoons and cats and squirrels, basically. But I go to the Home app, and now when you see video, instead of it showing you each camera device you had to go to see clips, now all the clips are lined up in a row, at least in the Mac version, and you can just scroll through your entire library of things that were motion sensor recorded.
Which is how we know that Apple is totally doing a security camera, because they wouldn't just be doing that out of the goodness of their hearts.
Is that right?
There's a probably those are the rumors.
Yeah.
Golden Gate Bridge wallpaper is in now because it's Golden Gate. That's nice.
Yay.
The Reminders app icon changed pretty dramatically in a nice way, I think, but it's basically, instead of it being a dark bullet on a little lighter ring, it's a kind of a light bullet in the center of the darker colored ring, and you can tell. I launched it and I was like, whoa. Reminders, what have you done?
We're also getting inline
nice.
in messages now. You're getting stuff like every time you mention anything with a date or time or place, it'll be add to reminders and add to notes.
I think that was a beta 2, but yeah, absolutely.
I saw it.
Is that a button,
running beta 2
or
so
how does
far.
that work? Does it pop up? What is it?
No,
it's
just
like
a little
underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's subtle.
Like it's
kind
like
of
like the text suggestions. sort of.
Yeah, it's a little like that. And then it looks, I haven't seen it yet, but it looks like the tab grouping feature might be added to Safari. At the very least, the alert that it got added as a new feature is in there now. But is the new feature there? I'm not sure. Not 100% sure yet. We've only seen that because that's the idea, that you can take your tabs and say to Safari, organize these for me, and it makes like little subgroups of your tabs, so you don't have a billion tabs.
And that's AI, right? It's using AI
that's AI. I don't know. I've only seen it happen in iCloud tabs, where it summarizes tabs that are open in other browsers of yours on your iCloud account. But I haven't seen it in actual Safari yet. But that is a feature that's supposed to be coming.
Here's from Mac Rumors, the new Golden Gate wallpaper. That's pretty.
Nice. Kind of love the Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, not that I didn't like a lot of the other, High Sierra or the other ones. I'm still waiting for Mac OS Fresno, but I don't think we're going to get it.
No.
Mac OS Encino. I have to go to Star Trek.
Encino. I don't think we're going to
Lower Decks for that.
I doubt we're going to see Encino.
Wasn't it the Encino class in the Lower Decks? It was like the Fresno, the Encino.
That's right. It's the California class, and it was the USS Cerritos. But I'm sure the Encino was one of the ships in the California class.
There's one episode in which all the California classes come in. It's
and it's not
it's the
good
Fresno,
names.
It's the Vallejo.
Yeah, it's all the rejected Apple Mac OS names that were made into starships. I think that's it. I'm still holding out for Shasta. I feel like Shasta is going to be a great future one for people who are not in California. Yeah. A spectacular volcano that we have here that makes good photos, good photo opportunities at Shasta. So we'll probably get there.
It's also a sacred site with our First Nation folks, and
it is.
You get that sense when you approach it.
It is beautiful and magical
happening.
Yeah, you're literally just driving through flat, nothing landscape, and then you look up, and hovering above the mountains to your north is a volcano. You're like,
it's like Fuji almost. It's just there.
It's very dramatic.
Incredible.
Beautiful.
Last question. When the public beta comes out sometime in the next couple of weeks, do it.
Probably.
I've loved it.
It's pretty stable, right?
Yes, shockingly. I mean, no one should do it on their primary machine if they're worried about losing work and productivity and need to restore. But if you want to have fun and it's not like a mission critical thing.
That's my only phone. I think that's where I want it.
I've got a backup phone. It's my night phone. No, I'm just kidding. I got a backup phone that I got just for testing. I bought a old enough phone that is new enough to run every feature that I need to test on in the new releases. But I spend the money to do that because I'm writing 9 books.
Are you doing a take control for that too?
Which phones? Or no, we're doing, Joe and I do iOS and iPad OS 27. So we list all the new features. We're going to do a different thing this year probably because the, OS, and he does Mac OS. He's doing Mac OS 27 Golden Gate. The updates for the operating systems are all so focused on Siri AI and Apple Intelligence, with some exceptions, that we're probably going to do a Siri AI book, an Apple Intelligence book, and then link the 2 system update books to it. So we have work ahead of us, as they say.
Exciting.
But it's fun. This year feels like a positive year. Every time I poke at a feature, I go poke, and it goes, oh, that works better. or it didn't break it, right? And I'm like, last year it was like poke, and it's like, I got my finger in there. Yuck, I gotta wash it off now.
It's like those Roman gargoyle walls where you stick your hand in. If you're a liar, you're gonna get your hand bit off.
Oh my God, that's
all right. Good. Well, I'm gonna, as soon as the public beta comes out, I'm putting it on my phone, and if I don't get your call, well, now you'll know why. you're watching.
That's
MacBreak.
a great excuse.
Yeah.
Auto reply. Leo has installed public beta, cannot reply.
New OS. Who dis? You're watching MacBreak
Click this
Weekly.
link to file a radar on my behalf.
Just shake it as hard as you can. And then my watch says, "Did you just take a fall?" Andy Anako, Jason Snell, sitting in for Christina Warren, of course, Glenn Fleischman. Great to have all three of you. You're watching MacBreak Weekly. Let's talk about rumors. Nikkei says Apple will launch five new iPhone models to gain market share amid memory crunch. Well, I could think of, let's see, the folding phone, the Ultra, the iPhone 18 Max, Pro Max, the iPhone 18 nothing.
Yeah.
What would the fifth be?
Air?
The Air? Do you think they're going to do another Air?
That's what. Yeah, Gurman says that too. In the spring, it's probably 17 for the regular and Air.
They're saying also with a slightly bigger battery and a second lens, like a wide-angle lens.
Yeah,
so less
which would be wonderful.
Bigger battery would make a difference.
So this is the iPhone 18 model series. So it's 18, 18 Pro, 18 Pro Max, 18 or Air 2, S or what? What is the
E?
The E, it's not an SE anymore, 18E, and the folding phone.
So that would be 6.
That's 6 models. So maybe.
The folding phone is for real. I keep reading about it like it's for real. And I was like, are they really going to do it?
The folding phone, well, I mean, we won't know until the fall, but it sure sounds like they're making them.
I saw somebody with one, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we have a couple of the Samsung one." I'm sorry, and they're like, "Yeah, we had a couple of them." Like, do you ever have any issues? Like, that's fine. I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess Apple just sat it out until they could perfect it."
So typical Apple, right? They're like, "Yeah, we'll just wait. We'll come in," and then people are going to get excited, and Samsung will be like, "Really?" But that's how it goes.
Samsung's going to say, "Thank you for helping us sell another 10 million screens."
That's the other rumor is that Apple has decided to up the production of the folding phone to 10 million. Which is
right?
Some real confidence. They were originally going to make 7 to 8 million. This is all rumors.
Are any of us going to buy a folding Apple iPhone?
Yeah,
we're a bad set of examples, right?
Exactly.
I will absolutely have one because I got.
Well, so I'm going to predict zero sales. Then
there are a lot of Vision Pro owners in this conversation, so we're not a good.
I only have 2 Vision Pros near me right now. What are you talking about?
There's a Spider and a Vision Pro with an 8
at any time.
I actually have the Samsung Fold. I've had several of them. Right. But I'm excited because I like the idea of it. I love my iPad mini, and I love the idea of a phone that is both that.
I'm with you, Leo. I think I fear what it's going to cost.
Well,
but as somebody who's very iPad forward, I use the iPad all the time, and so for me, what I find intriguing about this is, so many people are iPhone first, and then maybe they have an iPad or not. But like my iPhone is only really when I'm kind of roaming around. When I'm in the house, it's mostly the iPad. Could this product become my primary computing device? Maybe. But that's what excites me about it, is that there's at least a possibility that I would have this kind of one device that could be my roam around phone, and also sit down on the couch and open it up and use it there like I use my iPad now.
For me, the use case is always all of those little like when I spent another Friday in Boston like a few days ago because I had to pick up the new laptop. And like that's the perfect circumstance for I don't want to take even my iPad Pro with me, but but the thing is I'm going to be on commuter rail for an hour on the way there, an hour for the way back. I'm probably going to be in town for the 2 or 3 hours, and it's going to be super hot, so maybe I don't want to do a whole lot of work. Like, and assume that I'm not picking up I'm not going to be coming home with a new MacBook, but like I need to have something in my pocket and a keyboard so that I can at least get some work done or respond to something that's very, very important. But it's not worth my taking like the big, even a lightweight iPad with me. But the thing is, like whereas the older rumors were about 2,000 to start with, and maybe it'll go up for the now. I don't know if it was Ming-Chi Kuo had a lot to say this week. Among them, like basically saying that not only he was saying 6 to 7 million. The Nikkei upped that to 10, but he's saying that also, by the way, only about 10% of those are going to be like made in the third quarter. So if they are planning to actually sell whatever the first round is for sale, it's going to be in very, very limited quantities. But the other thing, maybe this is updated to represent the price increases that we're all dealing with. Now they're basically saying entry level to 2,200 to 2,300, probably 2,500 for the one that you actually want. And that is, to me, rarefied air for somebody to safely say, I want not just a MacBook, but a really nicely outfitted M5 MacBook Pro, or what I'm getting at is that there are not a whole lot of people. It's a niche product if it basically is people choosing between a really, really good iPhone Pro plus a MacBook Neo for when they actually need that kind of firepower, or that plus an iPad Mini. Again, it's not that big. It's just, but the idea of folding something, putting in your shirt pocket, not a whole lot of people are going to say, no, I'd much rather have this, not just this device, but this version 1 hardware device, which is going to be, I mean, you always have, even when it's something as robust as a MacBook, you would think, I'm going to wait for the first revision just to be sure if I can. This is going to be, I imagine that despite Apple doing all they can to make sure that this is a very, very nice rollout, there's going to be a disproportionate number of people that are going to have to go back to the Apple Store a couple of times before this gets sorted out. But it's hard for me to imagine $2,500 for a primary phone where you are absolutely happy that you have the extra convenience of having this dual device absolutely justifies $2,500, unless you have the sort of buying power where just like I think I thought nothing about buying like a $2,200 laptop instead of something that cost $1,000 because it is that valuable to me, and thank God I can afford it.
Hey, it's $100. $2,500 is $100 a month over 2 years at 0% interest.
That's a lot.
If Apple keeps doing $100 a month is, but it's, if you're paying the tax up front, there's a couple of things you have to do in some cases, right? But maybe Apple will do a 36-month tier for it or something to reduce the cost.
I think Apple knows.
People are going to trade in too. So
I think Apple knows who's buying, especially the first generation of this device, and it is not somebody who is saying, if I buy this, I have to buy a MacBook Neo. It's just not.
I dropped my phone in the toilet. I need a new one for college. Yeah,
this is a product, especially the first generation, but it's at the top of their product line. This is a product that's targeted for the people who have the money to spend on Apple gear, and they want the best, and they want the coolest, and they want the cutting edge, and this is going to be both of those things. And it's not like Apple will say, well, we do make an affordable iPhone, and it's the iPhone 18 or the iPhone 17, or and this is not that. This is a new category, and they know that a large number of the people who buy it are not going to be weighing like whether they get this or a computer. They're going to get both because they've got the money to do it. And over time, it changes. I agree, Andy, that this is a first generation product, right? So part of the appeal of it, but also part of the thing that a savvy shopper might be repelled by, is the fact that it's going to be a first version, and it's going to be weird, and it's going to be weird on the hardware side where who knows what's going to be going on there. And it's going to be weird on the software side because, again, Apple's going to be shipping software for this for the first time, and they're going to have to work on that. And, some of us, and I know our listeners are among them, some of them, love the ride, a bumpy ride, right? Because it's it's bumpy, but we're here. That's what life is here on the cutting edge, and we love it. But it's a little bit bumpy. And then there are other people who are like, hell no. Not in a million years am I going to do that. Both are reasonable depending on what you want out of life, depending on what your budget is. I think it's fine. But yeah, I would have a hard time saying, now here's a tip that'll save you some money. Buy the expensive folding iPhone. Because then you won't have to get an iPad. It's like getting an iPad for free. And it's like, well, it kind of isn't, and also no. So forget it.
It's not saving you money.
You could buy an iPhone and an iPad and a MacBook Neo for that price.
Yeah. On the Apple side, though, Apple's got to capture the margin or the sale revenue and margin that they're going to lose from not selling an iPad. So that's part of the price too. There's a high price to manufacture, but it's also because they are going to, it could cause iPad sales to crater in a specific chunk. People I don't think are going to go, I'm buying a folding phone and an iPad. So Apple has to deal with that impact as well.
Yeah, it's also a question about what the margins are on a device like this, because those screens are hella expensive. It's like disproportionate to any other phone they've made before. I said this before when John Gruber was on, but it's like one of the things that really spelled that out to me was when Motorola, who are the kings of making incredible phones at affordable prices, like where you put them side by side with something that costs twice as much, and you can't see really where the money went on the more expensive ones. They finally came out with their like iPhone Ultra style, like, or Samsung style foldable. And I'm thinking, oh, great. So maybe this will be like the first one of that size that like be $1,500 or $1,600 would be still be better. And it was exactly $100 less than the Samsung. That's how much these displays cost.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a ride.
Have you and Mike Hurley on Upgrade created a pool for the final price of the Ultra yet? It feels like something you guys would do.
I agree. I think that when it comes to that, we'll probably do it. We usually do a draft right before, and so there'll probably be some pricing related things. Because one of the great things for people who complain that Mark Gurman reports everything and spoils everything that Apple's going to announce, and it's not fun anymore or whatever. Like, okay. One of the things that Mark Gurman can't be that good at is names and prices, because the names and prices come out of the marketing group and out of the product group at Apple. They are not supply chain sources. They are not even software sources. Those are very high level. And so if you want your excitement, it's going to be, what's this going to cost? Mm-hmm. And what's it going to be called? Because sometimes those names leak, like the Neo leaked like the day before, but that product leaked 2 years before. And we were talking about it 2 years before the Neo came out, that they were going to do a Chromebook killer, but that's what it was, clearly. But we didn't know the name until the day before, and we didn't know the price until it was announced. Nobody got it right. So it's going to be fun to find out. And then you throw in the price increases, and it's like, well, now what's it going to cost? And I'm reminded of how when there was a rumor that the Vision Pro, or whatever the Apple Vision, whatever we thought it was going to be called, the Apple Visor, there was a rumor that it was going to cost $2,500, and I remember being outraged and being like, "Are you kidding? Oh, no. $2,000 is even too much. It can't be $2,500." And they're like, "How about $3,500?" And it's like, "What?" So yeah, we'll see. Apple is not shy to make things expensive. They're just not. They're shameless about it because they make lots of money. But so it'll be fun, but it'll be a good guess. We have not done it yet, and I think nobody knows except like a small number of people at Apple.
One question though for everybody is anybody surprised that if these rumors are true, that they're going to start off with, well, we'll build 10 million of them and we think we'll sell through all of these?
It suggests that they really are high on the product and that they're probably going to be more aggressive than we think. I think you don't up your, if it's true, I don't think you up your estimate to 10 million if you're worried that you're going to have to set the price so high that nobody's going to buy them. I think you do that if you're a little more aggressive and you're like, we want these out there. We're going to price this pretty well. We think people are going to find this a hot product. Now they could be wrong too, but that's my reaction to that, is that they seem to be doing that from a position of confidence, which also suggests maybe they'll be a little aggressive on price. I think they'll have margin to give. They'll have margin to give in this product.
I think one of the most interesting rumors to me is that there might be a upgraded MacBook Pro sooner than later. Like the new design, we might see the new design sooner than later.
Yeah, Gurman says that so I think the original intent was the OLED model was going to come out with the M6, and it was come out at the end of this year, beginning of next. Right. And now Gurman has said they're not going to do an M6. Right. So if that model comes out the end of this year, beginning of next, it'll be an M5 Pro or M5 Max, the same chips we already have seen, but with an OLED and touchscreen and new controls and stuff like that. But what about the base model? Well, it turns out they are also doing a design for the base model, and Gurman says that will get the M6 because the base model M6 is going to ship. So that design, which will be a new design, but presumably not OLED, not touchscreen, but sort of like more reminiscent of the higher end models, is going to happen. So, interesting quirk, but because we always forget, it's almost like a different laptop, right? It's the one that's not.
Is it the redesign though? It's going to be the new look?
He said it was going to be reminiscent of the look. So it's like they're not going to give it an OLED touchscreen.
Of something that doesn't exist. looking back.
Well, we don't know the sequencing of it. Of it, but because they may do the M5 Pro models first. In fact, they probably will, right? And those will be OLED touchscreen. And then in the spring, let's say, they'll do an M6 base model.
Oh, now I'm confused. So you think the OLED touchscreen will not be even an M6, but an M5?
Gurman says it'll be an M5.
Wow.
Yeah, because they killed the M5 Pro and Max, and that it'll be an M5 or the M6 Pro and Max. So it'll be M5 Pro and Max, and then a year later they'll do M7, but they'll just jump right over M6.
Would you advise against an M6 nothing?
No, I mean, I'm sure it's a perfectly fine chip. They just want to move on to the next one. And if you're in the market for something like, it'll be in that low end MacBook Pro, it'll probably be in the iPad Pro, it'll probably be in MacBook Air, and like that. It's not a stinker. I think it's more like they decided the high end ones weren't worth doing because there were even more impressive high end chips right behind them, and that maybe they should just skip to them. But I don't think there's going to be a problem with that. We're in for a bumpy year and a half of weird chip sequencing, though, for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of weird, I asked my AI agent what the California class ships are in Star Trek, and I am getting a dissertation.
Oh, no. Did you see? I pasted a list in.
Yeah, I saw, but I thought, well, let me ask. I didn't know about the USS Protostar. Did you know about that?
Oh, well, that's the subject of Star Trek Prodigy, which is a different show. That's the animated show. That's not a California class, though. I think that's an experimental show.
Maybe it's hallucinating because
I think it is.
Yeah.
The USS,
it says the Protostar is a California class ship, which is a prototype vessel that,
Yeah, I don't think that's right. I think that's a hallucination. No. I was going to say, nerd information about Star Trek on the internet scraped by AI. Pinch me. I had no idea.
So that's why I'm checking it with you, because it sounds like it has hallucinated.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we've got things like USS Sherman Oaks, great city.
Yeah, USS Fresno.
USS Burbank, home to wonderful studios.
I think those are much more interesting than the Protostar. That's a terrible.
USS West Covina. That's a good. Yeah. That's a deep cut.
USS Carlsbad.
Oh my God!
And somebody in the Discord said, Encino really isn't a city; it's just a neighborhood. So you
tell that to Encino Man.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there is no USS. I got that wrong. Encino is not one of the California class. That's my bad. I just say neighborhoods. I know apparently.
We just canonize it right here. That's what we're doing.
USS Glen Oaks or something. I don't know.
So USS
Glendale. USS Glendale.
I actually am glad that they're not going to release the OLED M6 whatever, because that means my budget will be a little bit more capable of affording an Ultra, which is going to be M6 priced probably. Well, anyway, we've now determined that the Protostar is not a California class.
No, it's not.
Absolutely not.
Definitely not.
Totally different show.
But the West Covina is, without a doubt.
West Covina.
All right. Let's see. What are we doing here? I have so much more to talk about. Is there any, Andy, I couldn't find any. Is there any Vision Pro? Because we've got to do a Vision Pro segment, or lose our identity as the nation's premier Vision Pro podcast.
We can skip it. It's
we can skip. I didn't find a single darn thing.
I did. I looked. Maybe I'll have my agent hallucinate a story.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I have an item.
Play the theme.
Uh-oh.
What do you see? What do you know? It's time to talk the Vision Pro.
Oh no. However weak and feeble this item may be, it does.
Thanks for the setup, Leo. That really helps me.
I still don't believe the Vision Pro exists. I don't think Apple would ever sell something like that.
They would.
Such a small market.
Jason Snell, what is the latest Vision Pro news?
It has come to my attention that the ping pong app in the Vision Pro now supports the Logitech spatial stylus, the Muse. And I'll tell you, this is why it's important to support hand controllers in Vision OS, folks, and why Apple really missed the boat by not doing it. Is ping pong, table tennis on the MetaQuest is so good because you've got the hand controller and it maps perfectly to your ping pong paddle. But not the table tennis app on the Vision Pro or the pickleball app on the Vision Pro. Well, good news, everybody. This kind of weird spatial pencil that Logitech makes, the Muse, in addition to supporting a lot of weird, interesting 3D art things where you can literally draw in space, which is wild, And I think it did a fishing app that it supported out of the box. Now it also supports those paddle games. And I'll tell you, holding it in your hand and playing table tennis, really good. They did a much better job with that. So it's part of the story of watching this thing. They ship the product, but over years, slowly you're watching all the pieces of this platform actually start to make sense, including spatial peripherals that are relevant. So that's my news. Is if you want to play a paddle game or do fishing or draw in 3D space, the Logitech sent me this Muse as a review unit. I don't know what to write about it, but I've mentioned it twice on this show now.
There you go.
Because it's deeply weird. It's kind of brilliant, but it's like, but what do I use it for? And I've got an answer now. Ping pong.
Ping pong and fishing.
And that is the Vision Pro segment.
Ta-da!
Now see, now you know, we're done talking the Vision Pro.
Silo came back a couple of days ago. I haven't watched it. Good?
It's a great show.
Excellent.
Best.
I think you mean the Silo, right, Jason?
Going to be the best.
Just Silo.
The Silo.
No,
Sorry.
it's just a Silo. It's not the Silo.
I famously said the Silo once on Blue Sky. Jason took me to task. And then somebody said the Silo on Jeopardy! I screen captured it, sent it to you. They said the Silo. And it was not marked wrong.
It's not.
It was marked wrong.
No, it was not marked wrong.
No.
Not marked wrong. Well, because I think they just don't ignore the. You guys
Those
are the Jeopardy experts, but I'm just guessing.
I love the show.
The Silo. It's a good show. It's a surprisingly good show, in fact.
Yeah.
No spoilers? Can't do any spoilers.
I love Rebecca Ferguson. I think she's fantastic.
Great.
Just adore her.
Common. Rapper Common is a scary villain. It's great. He's great.
I was surprised. I didn't expect much from him, and he's turned out to be quite
really good.
I also say Rebecca Ferguson is I think she's one of the executive producers, right? She really wanted footage of her climbing and being in water and climbing out of water a lot because there was a lot of that. I still love the last season. There was a lot of that, but still
a lot of it.
She's great.
Still good.
She's just fantastic.
And they know where they're going because the Hugh Howey books obviously have mapped it out, and they're going to do. They announced before this season that they're doing 4 seasons. They picked it up for 2 seasons, and then they're going to wrap it. So they know what story they're telling. It's based on the Hugh Howey books, so it's not going to be one of those things where you get to the end and you're like, but wait, it's like, no, they've got a plan, and this season they started in the last episode of last season. They're flashing back to explain from sort of our time, how did the Silo happen?
That was such a great reveal. I remember being I was watching it. I was in another country. I was watching it on a giant TV with earbuds in because nobody in my family watches it. And the rain started and I went, holy aloud because I was I wasn't expecting it. Can I say that on this show?
Well, you did.
Oh no. Will I ever be us back?
They'll just bleep.
Well, how closely does this Hugh to the Howie?
Hugh Howey.
Hugh to the Howie.
Hugh to the Howie canon.
It's pretty good. I mean, he's involved. He is according to him, he is involved at a decent. He's not the showrunner, but he talks to them a lot. And I think that the idea is it's a challenge because they got to adapt it for TV, which means you've got a bunch of standing cast members, and you can't do like in this book, we go to a completely different place and we don't see any of your existing cast members for a while. You can't do that on a TV show, right? So they've had to like move a bunch of stuff around, but it seems pretty faithful to the storyline, sort of filtered through what a TV show needs.
Yeah,
you got to make a good TV show.
I haven't read the book, so I'm kind of excited I'm not going to touch them. I've somehow avoided all spoilers because I think enough people haven't read the books and they're all kind of, cherry about it. So I want to watch all 4 seasons and then I'm just going to go and devour
Is
whatever.
Murderbot coming back? Speaking of books.
Yeah.
Books are so good.
I like first season.
Love
was
that
too short,
show.
but good.
Now,
2 short episodes.
Here's one I'm very nervous about. Apple has announced that they are going to make Neuromancer.
Yes, and they've been teasing it for like a year now.
One of my favorite books of all time, the book that really introduced us to the cyber space.
Yeah.
Do you think it can be made into I don't know.
Totally. We just read it. Yeah. Glenn and I just read it for The Incomparable. There's an episode we read all 3 of the Sprawl novels by William Gibson from the 80s. And it's totally, I mean, it's almost like a noir detective story.
but it's very
it's pulpy.
scene based. It's got lots of scene. We were talking about it, like it has points of view change, and it kind of moves. It's like it's already interleaved stories. Well, not all the books, but I think, and I know they're only talking about the first one, but it has, it just has great visuals. And I'm thinking of like when I was reading it, I was like, oh yeah, this in space would work great because they've already so many shows have shown us interesting space environments. Of course they can do it and make it feel like it should for this show because it's feasible to do. It's
right.
CG.
Today you can depict these things. It's just it's mind-blowing to think that Gibson wrote this on a typewriter and had never used a personal computer before. He was kind of inspired by going to a video game arcade, and yet it is so prescient because he is an observer of culture and he extrapolates culture. He's not extrapolating technology. The technology there is to kind of like buttress his observance of culture. So yeah, I'm excited. They showed they had a still, I think, basically of the Chetsubo, and then they've got this trailer which is not, from the show. It's just of the show as a teaser.
Although it's reminiscent of the opening lines of the novel.
That's what it's referencing, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we haven't really seen any footage from it, but they keep hyping it, and it sounds like it's a miniseries, so they're literally adapting the whole novel.
I'm so excited.
Very
I hope
excited.
It's good. I mean, Johnny Mnemonic, not a great film.
Not a good film. No.
Not really.
No. And then it's amazing it's never been adapted up till now. Just that short story, Johnny Mnemonic. But the thing is, The Matrix kind of ate its lunch, and The Matrix was deeply, deeply inspired by Neuromancer. But once they did The Matrix, it was sort of like, well, I guess we can't really make another VR adventure for a decade plus, right? Like, because everybody's just going to think about The Matrix, and now maybe we've got it at the time where we can do it. I'm really looking forward.
Was it Amazon that made the
Peripheral?
Yeah.
But they only did
Peripheral.
one season?
One season, and
It's
then
a shame because I thought that had a lot of promise.
I did too. Really good. Another Gibson novel, more recent Gibson novel.
So many shows cut off in their prime.
So to speak.
In their Amazon Prime.
Amazon does that.
Unintentional.
They seem to. Netflix too. They have a short fuse. They have a short attention span.
Yeah.
I hope Apple will give Neuromancer its due. I know they'll spend the money. Why did they release this trailer July 1st? Is it coming? Or is
I think just to keep people talking about it. They did that set. They did that set preview, and now they've done this.
I fell for it.
And then there'll be a trailer at some point, and then they'll give it a date. I think it's shot.
Oh, interesting.
I think it's shot. I think they said production started on it like back in January or something like that.
Okay.
So I think they've shot it, and now they have to put it together and do the effects and all of that. But I have high hopes for it because it's a classic.
Finally, before we get to our picks of the week, an Apple iPhone 17 Pro Max has been buried in a time capsule to celebrate America's 250th.
Cosmic Orange.
It will be open 250 years from now. I wonder what they'll make of Cosmic Orange. I really do.
I wonder how long before that battery ignites and sets fire to everything else in the time capsule, and how Apple PR 250 years from now is going to respond to that PR crisis.
AI
I was thinking
Katie Cotton.
maybe remove the battery and then just put in a USB cable.
It has been filled with items from all 50 states. It will be buried in Philadelphia, or was buried in Philadelphia on the 4th. If there is anybody left 250 years from now, they may be digging it up. It might be Charlton Heston saying...
I was going to say, what will the apes think of this?
They should just put a USB-C cable in there, Jason. Just that and no
that
other
will
cables.
baffle them.
Right.
And it'll be like, oh, this standard, the one that we adopted, it has caused peace and prosperity for the last 250 years.
Yeah, they throw out the phone and they're like, all hail the USB-C cable. All
They might
hail.
look at that phone as the progenitor of everything that went, well, either right or wrong in the following 250 years.
They could bury X in there too. That would be great.
Yeah, they're going to they get that and they back away and spray paint that like this is not a place of honor on it and run away.
Do not build this Torment Nexus. Here is the Torment Nexus for you.
And that is, by the way, the America 250, not the Freedom 250 time capsule. So it's not just
it's a real one.
It is actually a real one. Yeah,
it's not going to be dug up 3 weeks later and sold on eBay.
It's not going to have Kid Rock in it or anything like that.
There was probably some sort of an
Can we
open...
put him in a time capsule? Is that illegal? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think you could. It's that's buried alive. It's basically the cask of Amontillado, except the
Pet
time
Rock's
capsule.
not
You don't want
cask.
that.
You can put pet rocks.
Nobody
We should, well,
rocks.
we should just like tell Keith Richards and Willie Nelson what they should tell the people who open the time capsule, like how to charge the phone. Like,
and Mel Brooks. Put Mel Brooks in there, too.
now, I know it's going to sound weird. They can only get apps from this one app store, and it's not, you can't sideload anything. They were a little bit freaky.
Is there a directory of time capsules somewhere? Like, are we due to unzero one up?
You have tapped into. Excuse me, I'm booting up the Glenn module for time capsules.
comes.
Boop, 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 boop. There is actually an association that formed itself based in part on the crypt of civilization at Oglethorpe University in Georgia, which I wrote an Atlantic article about a number of years ago, because the Vault of Civilization was established by this very wacky guy who revived the university, and he wanted to put stuff in there for, I don't remember what it was, like 3,500 years, some insane amount. So in the basement of some building, they put in a bazillion things. It was well documented. They had my relative, Robert Sarnoff, or David Sarnoff, rather.
David Sarnoff is your relative?
Yeah, he's one of my mom's cousins.
He invented radio or RCA.
No. He didn't invent the radio. He invented a lot of myths about himself, including that he received the SOS from the Titanic, which he may have been present. It's unclear if he personally received it. But he parlayed that into becoming head of RCA for many decades. Yeah. They got David Sarnoff to come out to dedicate the door for the vault. Anyway, there's some Oglethorpe.
Show the screen, if you will. You keep showing my screen when I don't have anything to show.
Oglethorpe University.
Is this Oglethorpe right there? That's it?
Oglethorpe, yeah. It's in the basement, and you can't see it because it's just a door. There is a picture of a door. And these guys some of them are former Oglethorpe students, including, I want to say it's Newt Berger is a local, I think it's Newt Berger, is a local Seattle area well-known storyteller and documentary maker.
Look, they got a map of all the time capsules.
Anyway, so I was doing a story about Craig Maud, the most interesting man in the world.
I love Craig Maud, yeah.
He's incredible. He was trying to preserve a site he'd done, and they wound up, I think they were etching it on nickel plates so that they could store the website forever for like 10,000 years, and it turned into a whole story about like him and this Oglethorpe thing.
Wow.
And, you can find a directory from these fine people.
Time Capsule Society.
And now let me hit the reset button on the Glenn Time Capsule module to turn it on. Didn't know that I knew something about it.
And there is, by the way, which is nice, instructions on how to build your own time capsule.
It's good. I think they got fed up that you couldn't find,
Select a retrieval date. What is the shortest and what is the longest window for a time capsule, I'm wondering?
I think the Oglethorpe one is one of the longest. I don't know what the shortest is.
Yeah, who cares what the shortest? It's over.
We put it in the closet, then we opened it the next day.
Yeah, right. That's easy. It's the long ones.
We needed a typewriter for it to finish. Yeah.
I wonder if it says at any point, do not include electronics, especially phones.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff. The guy who ran Oglethorpe University, I would say he was not a racist. That's how you start a sentence, right? But there are some interesting things. I wound up buying some old books of his and just to research the guy a little further.
Exactly a racist.
He's not exactly.
He had some thoughts about Canadians that were.
There are a few things in there. There's an inventory of what's inside. There are a few things that I think would not pass muster.
Do not put a time machine into the time capsule. That's all I could say, because then everything goes backwards and it's a mess. You're watching MacBreak Weekly with the autodidact, the phenomenal Glenn Fleischman filling in for Christina Warren. I wish we had an extra seat for you, Glenn, because I love having you on the show. You're so fantastic. Also here, Andy Ihnatko and the wonderful Jason Snell. And we are all glad you are here for the show. We are especially glad to our Club Twit members who make this show possible. Not a month goes by where Lisa doesn't come to me and say, thank God for the club. We can make payroll this month. I mean, it's literally that important to us. Not so much me, but to our staff, our team, the people who work so hard, the people on the shows, the people behind the scenes. We make payroll every month, and it's thanks to you in the club. You make up a good portion of our operating costs, and without you, I don't know if we'd do it. So here's the deal. If you like the shows, if you like this show and all the other shows we do, if you appreciate access to the Club Twit Discord, if you enjoy the special programming we do just for the club, and if you like, ad-free versions of the shows, and if you like the shows with the ad-free versions also have chapter markers so you can jump around, find the part you like. Those features are made possible by members like you. We'd love to have you in the club. We really would. twit.tv/clubtwit to find out more. Please join the club. Join the cool kids. Now, ladies and gentlemen, time for our picks of the week. And since, Glenn, you're our guest of honor, I'll let you kick things off.
Well, I'll just do a weird thing as I usually do, which is I don't seem to have a Mac or technology related pick of the week. Because
Doesn't have to be. It can be anything.
I'm going to pick finding a turtle on a bike path and taking it off to the side of the path for safety, which is what I did on Sunday.
What's the website for that?
I was, move turtle to off the side of, it's like a Blade Runner question. It's like you find a turtle in the middle of the bike path.
It is, isn't it?
What do you do?
Literally.
Another tech company
you
with
passed
no,
the void
no
comp
path
test.
to profitability.
I'm biking along and I see this thing moving up ahead. I'm like, what is this?
Glenn is not a replicant, everybody.
It's just a turtle. It's near a slough, it's near a wildlife area, but looked like it was coming from this 5-lane road. I'm like, buddy, come on. This is not the right place for you. So I picked
now,
him
here's
up
the interesting
or
twist.
Put him off to the side
it was
of the road.
actually Mitch McConnell.
Oh,
And-
he transubstantiated his.
Nobody knew. Well, good on you, Glenn. You are a savior of turtles.
Saved one turtle. That was my goal this
wildlife
week.
letter.
Apparently, my goal, and I fulfilled it. So,
Well done. Bravo.
oh, good.
And apparently, our producer or you has put in a video of "I like turtles."
I don't know about that.
Is this you rescuing a turtle?
No, probably.
No, it's
That's
just
the
zombie
Babadook.
kid who likes
the
turtles.
Babadook. Oh no, maybe not.
Just got
That's
an
really-
awesome face paint job. What do you think? I like turtles.
Yeah. I had a tortoise when I was growing up, and we were great friends. But then eventually, one year it hibernated, and it never came back. That's true story.
Jason Snell, pick of the week.
Well, let me tell you what I saw walking down the street yesterday.
I like turtles.
Iguanas.
Glenn mentioned it earlier. It got a lot of love on a recent member episode of Accidental Tech Podcast, and I thought this would be a good time to mention it because it hasn't been recommended since Andy recommended it like hundreds of shows ago. It's Default Folder X from Sinclair Software.
Is this still around? This
It
is one of the
still around.
oldest.
So good.
The new beta that supports Golden Gate just came out. This is an app
Nice.
I've been using since the 90s on classic Mac OS.
Yes.
And what it does is when you got an open or a save dialog on your Mac and you want to have it open to a default folder that is different from what the system wants, you can set that. You can set it globally. You can set it per app. So like my writing apps open in the folder in Dropbox that I keep all my stories in every single time. It's got a bunch of other great features. It can bring up like Chrome around the open and save dialog box to let you navigate to the right place or find the right thing for you. I think the killer feature is if you've got a whole bunch of windows open and then you choose save and it says, well, where do you want me to save this? And you've got that folder open on the desktop in Finder, but it's completely covered and it's going to take you many steps to go out to the Finder and get that and then drag it back in and whatever. It's got this feature where you just move your pointer, you hover it over where that folder is. You know where it is, even though it's not visible. And like a little dotted line goes around it and says, oh, this one. And then you click and it moves to that folder in the save or open dialog. It's just like a bunch. It's just a classic Mac utility that makes it a lot easier when you're opening and saving files. It's that simple.
I use 10,000 times a day is option up arrow, option down arrow, which is move between recent folders because it doesn't always, I'm saving in a lot of places sometimes.
Yeah.
And you just go, instead of like navigating, you go up, and there's, there it is.
And it's got a recents pop up too if you want to look and be like, where do I put this? Oh yeah, right here.
So
It's just
good.
really good. And there's a reason it's been around for 30 years.
I'm so glad he's still developing it.
And still, yeah. So, and I thought that what better endorsement for a very old tool than the fact that it just got its beta update that anybody can download for Golden Gate. So it's actively being developed by
That's
John,
amazing.
the developer, who's been developing it since I saw this
John
on
Kowtow.
Usenet
Kowtow.
in the 90s when I was in college. And
It was a replacement for desktop for me. I felt this
Desktop.
the true
There's a name I haven't
because
heard.
I miss desktop so
time.
much, and default folder is the best thing since desktop. There's my
$40. It's keeping his kids in college.
He doesn't. What does he charge for
Software.
updates? I can't even remember if you have to pay updates.
I'm
or,
not even sure you do,
I
but
don't
if
know.
you do,
I
it's
just
not
pay
a lot.
whatever he wants, whatever amount of money he wants. I
You
should say
amortize
that,
that over 30 years. It's $1.50 a year. It's worth
Yeah,
it.
it's a good deal.
Every bit of it. Default Folder X from St. Clair Software, STCLAIR Software. Thank you. What a memory. He also does App Tamer, which I love
these apps that have been around. Like it's like James Thompson's PCalc. It's like literally these apps have existed since the 90s and they still exist.
Is that a quote from me on the front, the Macworld quote?
It
It might
is.
be.
I think
Recommended
that is me.
tip top on my utilities
I
list.
think that is me. I'm not
Five
sure.
Who
mice.
among us
Might
has
be Dan
not given
Frakes.
5 mice the default folder in their career? I think I have too.
We all have,
Glenn.
right? Yeah, I know.
Very
Shouldn't
nice.
brag. Shouldn't
Very
brag.
nice. 5 mice. And now Andy Anako for his pick of the week.
I deal with a lot of PDFs and I do read a lot of free ebooks. And I finally found an app that I like, a cross-platform e-reader app that is open source, but not too open sourcey, if you know what I mean. It's called Readest, Readest. Go to readest.com. And it is available for pretty much any platform you can possibly think of. There are iOS versions, Mac versions, Windows versions, there's an Android version, there are versions for Linux. And again, the scary thing when you say, oh, it's open source and it's available for every platform, you know that sounds like, okay, so it basically performs like a HyperCard stack that was designed for a 4K screen, like buttons and pop-ups, everything. No, it's a very, very clean, very, very nicely done app. It supports, got it in front of me, EPUBs, PDFs, Mobi, Kindle, FTP2, comic book CBZ files, text files. I just wish it supported HTML because when I need to capture something from an article that I need to make sure I have a local copy of it, I have lots and lots and lots of HTML files. But it's very robust. It will do things like you can select stuff and look that up in Wiktionary, or look it up in Wikipedia. It does text to speech. You can do side by side reads of similar documents. You can customize the appearance so that it looks exactly like the way you want it to, which is another problem that I have with a lot of reader apps, where it's like this app has every feature I want, but the layout and the page design looks like butt. And I can't deal with that, and that's the only reason why I can't deal with this. So I think it hasn't been around for a long time, but it's gaining momentum, and it's on GitHub. But if you go to readest.com and give it a trial, again, for people like me who, again, I've got I'm invested. All my platforms are Apple except for my phone, so it's nice to have be able to start reading something like on the bus on my phone, then come back to my MacBook and have the exact same PDF in the exact same place synced up and with all my notes that I've attached to it. This also, by the way, supports notes. It's a very, very full-featured reader. So
nice.
Good stuff. And again, it's free.
Pair it with the Caliber, and you're an old Kindle, and you've got something here.
And actually integrates with Caliber, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
I thought it was Calibre. Like
you call it what you want.
No, it's just Caliber.
Oh, damn.
Is there really a canonical? Well, maybe for you Jeopardy champions, there is.
I think we thought it was Calibre for a long time, and then I think somebody revealed that it actually is just Caliber.
But we had a fight in my house during Jeopardy last night over Babel versus Babel.
And what is the conclusive?
They're both okay. Babel is preferred in the UK, but Babel's fine. That's what I learned.
I learned.
Thanks,
maybe
Douglas
it was on
Adams.
this show that I had completely misinterpreted the Tower of Babel, the Fable of Babel, or is it the Fable of Babel?
So if you listen, it's Babel if you watch Star Trek. It's Babel if you did Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Guide with the Babel fish.
The Tower of Babel wasn't built infinitely high. It had languages written on the top or something. Isn't that it?
Yeah, and it was an attempt to unify the languages of the earth. And God said, no, you got to all talk different tongues.
I've got this. I've got a thing. This is a misprint apparently. Or it's from the folks Along Now Foundation.
Oh.
If you can see that.
In
It's
many languages. Yeah.
It's
wow.
got super micro printing on it, and
that's neat.
This was a struck one the person who created it gave me, not one of the ones they were selling because there was some minor error. Anyway, you can look at it under a microscope with like one kind of lens. So they think in the future you'll be able to review. They have larger versions that have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in like 75 languages.
What's on there now?
What's on what? The
what's
one I
on?
have,
what would I read if I had a super microscope?
It would the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Oh, okay.
I think is the text, and then it's in a bunch of languages. There's other information on it. Okay. So there's like a disc that
I thought it'd be better if it was like the Library of Congress.
Wow, that is you can't do that with nickel printing. Apparently, ironically, the person who invented it, she's allergic to nickel, so she can't handle it.
Oh no!
But she's done a great thing for the possible future descendants of us who have forgotten things.
Well, Mr.
We won't see. Mr.
Fleischman, I thank you so much for spending some time with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
what do you want to plug? You've got the Take Control books.
I would love to talk about a thing that I've been putting things out into the universe with the help of certain, as Jason calls them, albino alligators. Claude Code. There's a story behind that Jason could tell, but maybe already has. Anyway, but I've been doing projects that are outside of my ability by myself, and I've been doing code assisted things. So one of them is fruitspecs.com, which is a site you can go and search on hardware stuff about Apple and OSs and other kinds of things. And you can say like, all right, which one of the items I added, these are like people writing books kind of things, but other people have been using it too. It's like, which version is the last version of this phone that will let me, if you do, which, in the upper right corner there, which, OS, I think it is. And you can say, you can say like, what versions will this run? Like what hardware will run, Golden Gate and whatever. You check a couple.
Oh, this is handy.
Yeah. And then it gives you the thing that I did for myself. So it gives you Markdown and RTF output you can download. So if you just want a list you can use in a book
this
or
is
somewhere
very
else.
handy.
Yeah. So you do that. And then if you scroll down, it'll show you all the
I
different
love
versions.
this.
Yeah, and it's complicated.
And
so
I could copy it as Markdown or copy it as RTF.
Feedback.
Oh, that's nice.
But you can just I'm doing this all the time while I'm writing books, and I thought I've made this tool for myself. I'm just going to make sure everyone has access to it. The other one is Mr. Plimsoll, which has been a fun little project.
I have installed on my computer.
Yeah, I think that was a pick of the week a few weeks ago by me.
I won't talk about it. Yeah, it's that's been fun. I don't know how many people are using it, but it's I needed it, and I made a Mac app, and now people can have it for free, which is great.
I have Mr. Plimsoll. I have my Plimsoll line installed.
It's fun.
It's even the genesis of the name is so awesome. Now, unfortunately, I have too many items on my menu bar, and I can't remember which is which. Which one is Mr. Plimsoll? I don't know.
It's the one. It looks like a London.
There it is.
Roundel.
There it is. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Okay, now I forgot what it does though.
It does. It tells you if your volumes are getting too full.
There you go.
Apparently, nobody else had. I mean, I didn't need to write it. I just couldn't find a utility that was running a 6 colors column.
Well, I am. Look at this. I'm 76%. Mr. Plimsoll, thank you.
Me. So if somebody wrote in and said, how do I tell if my volume is getting full? And I said, it should be a tool, and there wasn't. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll write something, and that's Mr. my first
Yeah, I actually got a text from Mr. Plimsoll the other day, and I texted Glenn. I was like, it's exciting. It happened. And it was installing a software update, and I think it crossed the 90% full threshold, and then it rebooted down to 80% again. And I was like, okay, it's fine.
That's great. But it's otherwise you don't know, and you get. I got a warning from it a few weeks ago. It's like one of my Mac went insane. I think it was Time Machine snapshots, and there's a point. There's like the event horizon for a Mac sometimes where it's so full you can never delete anything from it. This happened to one of my kids, and so I'm like, it hit 95%. I'm like, I'm running downstairs to the computer, like, quick, delete files, reboot, and then it was fine. But
this is so cool. You can have notifications via email, iMessage. You can even phone. Will it call you?
It will. No, it'll do web hooks.
Oh, nice.
So you can enter
or push over
Slack
or
and other things.
Yep.
It'll do push. What's the one that you like, Jason? It's called push. Pushover. Yeah, pushover, which I didn't know about. And then the Claude was like, "Hey, do you want to add pushover webhook support?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." Nice. And tested it through, and so pushover is a nice little utility also. Great little functionality.
There's another one called NTFY that is cross-platform. I think it's worth looking at. I use that for some things as well. Mr. Glenn, thank you. And everybody should check out Glenn's many things at glenn.fun, because he's a lot of fun
sometimes.
Thank you, sir. Andy Anako is now on the web, fully human written, no AI involved at IHN.
Wait, it's all AI. It's all AI on Andy Anako's website.
Jason, you don't know how much I went back and forth about making that joke, but then I thought there's going to be some AI scraper that identifies that and then downgrades the site.
All AI. Yes. AI stands for, in this case, Andy Anako. And there's the site, ihnatko.com. Going quite well, it looks like. That's great.
Having fun.
Happy for you. And then, of course, Jason Snell, who is very active at 6colors.com. All his podcasts at 6colors.com/Jason, including Upgrade that he does with Mike Hurley. And anything particular you want to mention? I know Glenn is a regular on 6 Colors. We should
Glenn is writing there. And of course, Glenn helped us. We funded last week. So Design in California is a new podcast coming this fall with me and Mike Hurley. We funded at the...
Oh, sorry.
Is that the money sound there? Our final number was 303030. which I think is amazing. $303,000.
It take like 2 weeks to drop it in your account, 2 weeks after it's over. And I was like, Jason, when do you hear the sound of
I think I got a week left before the ka-ching happens. The bills are already coming in, but the ka-ching will happen. So so that'll be a new project about a history of Apple.
Nice.
Stories from all over the 50 years of Apple that we're going to be doing this fall.
So awesome. And you're probably deep in the writing stage of that one, I would guess.
Yeah, cranking up the beauty of Kickstarter is, we did enough to provide samples, but we didn't jump into the project because we needed to make sure that it would exist. But yes, now I'm cranking up the writing machine.
Yeah. Lots to
kind of
say.
Amazing. I'm so happy people were so excited about it because we knew that you'd do well with it because you've got a dedicated audience. But it's that it's happened overnight after 11 years of building success.
Yeah,
and building
overnight success from Mike and from me, but we got there.
Well, if you see Jason in the library, he's doing some research for his exciting new podcast. Andy's in the library, but he's the only one there. So
that's where he goes. If you see him there, that's because he's there.
It's very quiet in the library.
It's quiet. Exactly. It's quiet. It's private. There are no. It's summer, which means that wow, I spent my entire winter and spring making my motorcycle even louder. Now it's time to rip forward and backward outside of Andy's office window.
Art Buchwald column years ago where he was visiting Italy and he was talking about the Italian sport called far rumore, which it just translates as to make noise. And it was how they had all these people designated at different places around Italy to keep him awake. It was amazing.
Far rumore.
Far rumore.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Jason. Thanks to our club members for making this possible. We do MacBreak Weekly on Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC. I mentioned all the places you can watch it in the club, YouTube, TikTok. No, keep saying TikTok. No, YouTube, X.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, Kick, and Twitch.tv. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show on the website, twit.tv/MBW. And, of course, you can also subscribe in your favorite podcast player, and you'll get it automatically as soon as it's available. Sad to say, though, our time has come to an end, which means it is my sad and solemn duty to tell you, get back to work, because break time is over. See you next time. Bye-bye.